I am inside each and every single one of you. You just look in, and I will be there, waving out at you, naked, wearing only a cock ring.
Target acquired.
Eagle 1, first strike. You have permission to engage the target.
Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
All right, folks, welcome back. Welcome back to the show. We're going to have a great show today. Lots to cover, lots to talk about. We're going to have a good time. Last night, as you all know, the show got interrupted. Things happen. It's okay. It's fine. It's cool. But okay, here we are. We're back. Lots to talk about. First, let's just go ahead and recognize all the people who got in the chat early and have been having a good time. Anson Knowles, masquerading as comedy debate analysis. I guess that's his new channel. He's in here. Yeah, he's all up in it. And Buddha stopped by, said, sup grid. What's up, Buddha? How are you? Hawaiian CC is here. Christ truly has risen, my friend. And welcome to good to see you. Thumping Weevil is here. Glare 1%er is here. Agrillipus is here. Mr. is checked in. Wicked Wally hanging tough out there today. Been a while, Wicked Wally. Been a while. It's been a short leash. So, yeah, as long as the kid passes the chemistry test. We'll see. We'll see. It will be a much better time if he passes the chemistry test. That's for sure. I think it'll be okay though. So let me start off with we're going to do a couple of things. I'm going to go ahead and run through the monologue and the all of the kind of news of the day, things that you guys need to be thinking about, stuff like that. We're going to run through that, not super briefly, but certainly I'm not going to spend just a ton of time of it. Have I seen the Hall of Presidents pictures? No, I don't think I've seen that, Buddha. Somebody should send that to me. So, yeah. And so at any rate, we've got just and I'm just auto pin for the win. Yeah, absolutely, man. Auto pin. That'd be great. Yeah, I don't have an auto pin. I don't know where I could get one either. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on out in the world. We're going to then move into just to let you guys know, we're going to talk a little bit about the Texas ICE shooter guy. We're going to talk a little bit about who he is, what we've been told, what we saw originally, and what has been kind of people are trying to the spin that's trying to be put on this right now. Basically, seems like everybody is trying to spin this. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. I don't know that I'm going to get too far into the world news. I did get a lot of that done, and not a lot's happened since last night. But we'll just run through a lot of it pretty quickly and just kind of review for people who weren't here. And then I had a request over in the Crucible today to talk a little bit about how I got to be where I'm at, and and that sort of thing, kind of tell my story. I'm going to do a condensed version of that towards the end of the show. And then we'll probably wrap up with, we may do some panel stuff. This should go pretty smoothly and quickly, guys. And so let's make it happen. It's going to be a good show. As always, I'm the worst at grifting. I truly am. But if you can afford it, you want to send in a few dollars, if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the conversation, if you enjoy the panels and debates and whatnot that I put together, please consider sending in a donation. $20 and up triggers a TTS. And let's just roll with the show. Oh, one more thing. I say some shit. And you might get angry. You might get upset. You might think about raging in the chat, and you are certainly free to do so. However, I have panels. If you come up and you want to talk shit in person, that's fine too. But just remember, there's always a time you might go too far. And at that point, what you need to remember is
Everyone does it. Now you can do it too. Shut the fuck up. Shut your mouth. Shut up. Shut the hole in your face. Like that. You can do it. Shh. Shut up. And shut the fuck up.
yes, please remember, you can always just shut the fuck up. It's an important fact of life. All right, guys, let's get into what's been going on. Now, obviously, not a lot has changed since last night. I ran through a lot of the news, but some of you guys weren't here, so we're just going to quickly talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about this stuff. It's important. It's news. It's the rule of the day. Let's make it happen, Captain. All right, so here we go. Obviously, the key themes: Middle East escalations again. Ongoing war in Ukraine. Nobody wants that shit to end. Well, actually, I think everybody wants it to end except Zelensky. Zelensky is just being a, cock block here. That dude is all up in everybody's grill and is just not letting you get in the hole. You know what I'm saying? You can't get in the hole. So anyway, we'll talk a little bit about that. Obviously, we've got natural disasters. We got a bunch of other stuff going on. I'm not going to get too far out there into that. But if you don't know, Israel has made some strikes into Gaza that's killed at least 22 near a Gaza City market. Total 80 deaths reported yesterday as the IDF targets Hamas, obviously. But they're getting a lot of flack from this. There's global condemnation, and it's really, really bad. And so there's a lot of global condemnation. People are trying to really spin this, but I don't know which way I would like to spin it. Obviously, it's a war. It's a war. Worse stuff is going on. Italy and Spain have deployed vessels to aid a Gaza-bound humanitarian flotilla, whatever. A bunch of ships. International, I don't think they're any specific. I don't think they're specifically Italian or Spanish. But it's a humanitarian mission that has been attacked by drones. Obviously, people are saying that those drones are from Israel. We don't know who's attacking them with drones. But yes, we are, people are just babysitting somebody else's war. I don't really get that. I think that's, honestly, I kind of think that's fucked up. Am I the only one? Let me know if I'm the only one. What's up? Midnight New Time, man. We're just going on here. Wicked Wally would totally debate which country is the biggest obstacle in negotiating peace with someone pro-Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be a good debate to have. I don't think that they would like losing, but I mean, it certainly would be a good debate to have. All right. So, again, you've got now the Italians and the Spanish are sending I guess they have a couple of ships to aid this humanitarian mission group of ships that have been attacked by drones. Again, nobody knows who those are. Obviously, they're attributing to Israel. We don't know. They could be Russian. I don't know. In the Ukraine, Russia has forced down 55 Ukrainian drones overnight while striking at Chernigov training ground, has killed up to 300 Ukrainian soldiers. Now, this is important, guys. I think you got to remember, the Ukrainians don't have a ton of soldiers left. I'm sorry, guys. I forgot to mute my phone. Let me do that now. I do apologize. It's very horrible of me. There we go. At any rate, I don't know how many more 300 Ukraine can lose. I mean, 300 Ukrainian soldiers pretty valuable right now. Obviously, Typhoon Ragasa, whatever they're calling her, has killed 17 in Taiwan, has now slammed into southern China. They've evacuated almost 2 million people out of southern China because of this typhoon, which is more or less a really bad hurricane. So it's really, really bad over there in Taiwan. So, and now southern China. So, it's not a good time over there for them. And the last thing I have kind of internationally today is Trump's UN speech has been criticized by the UN as, or pardon me, not criticized by the UN, is critical of the UN and its ineffectiveness, its inability to do basically fucking anything, especially what it's supposed to be doing. It does not. At any rate, Trump only very briefly addressed Gaza and Ukraine. I think that's really because what can he do? What's interesting is everybody thinks it's our job to end these damn wars, but we're not the ones fighting the wars, folks. I got no say in this. Do you? I mean, maybe if you're in Israel or if you're in Ukraine right now watching this, then yeah, okay, you probably have some say, but I got no say in this. This is I don't know why everybody's looking to the United States to end these wars. I don't care about these wars. Let them fight. Just let it go. There can be only one, right? Let's go Highlander up in this bitch. Maybe. I don't know. All right, so let's move on to national news. National news pretty interesting. I was going to talk a lot about the way the stock market is moving and what I think is going to, what I think you guys should be looking for if you're in the stock market or you're just, want to understand where your money's going. But I don't think I'm going to get into that. Basically, obviously, Trump's UN address, which has rejected Palestinian statehood. I don't know if you guys know that. Trump has completely rejected the idea of Palestine as a state. This is important. This is a big deal. If you don't think it's a big deal, you probably, I don't know what to tell you, man. That's huge, guys. It's just huge. So, oh man, God almighty. Can you imagine if Trump had gone the other way and said, no, dog, we're going to recognize Palestine. And he's kind of bucking everybody right now, right? Like Trump is kind of basically, this is kind of a big FU to the EU and the UK, and basically everybody else is like, no, dog, we ain't got you. We don't have your back this time. So he is he rejected Palestinian statehood. He's also at the same time, it's hard to think of a president this effective. He's warning Russia of further economic measures, not just sanctions. We're talking tariffs. We're talking, potentially interfering where we don't actually belong, to shut down shipments basically we have kind of an embargo in place on Russia. We have sanctions on Russia, and it's looking like Trump is basically saying we're willing to stop to go in and interfere with other countries, other suppliers, and stop those shipments from getting into Russia. That looks like what he's saying. I don't know. But it's basically it all signals a hard line. I mean, a hard line in the sand, hard line, America first stance. It's us, not you. You suck. We win. That's the way it is. And I do think that he's not. I wouldn't say that he's acting in bad faith here. I think that what he's doing is he's like, look, I'm America first. I honestly don't give a crap about any of you people out there, and you should just you need to toe the line, or or bad shit's going to happen. Like be in or be gone is what I'm saying. I think that's the way it is. The Supreme Court is still pending ruling on Trump's firing of Lisa Cook. You guys may remember she was the Fed governor. Trump fired her, which was well within his right to do. The lefties went fucking batshit crazy about it and have tried. Now they're basically taking it to the Supreme Court. We'll see how that works. It could reshape monetary policy, though, if the Supreme Court, depending on which way they decide, it could very much reshape monetary policy in the United States. We'll see how that works. Obviously, everybody knows by now Jimmy Kendall, right? She couldn't tell you what a woman was. She also couldn't tell you what money was. So look, if you are a non-finance person and you are the Fed governor, like your job is to understand economics and money, and you don't understand either of those things, what the fuck are you doing there? Literally, one has to ask, whose dick did you suck to get the job? One must ask that. Now, the answer may be none, but you have to ask. Yeah, in the back of your mind, right? I mean, she may not have sucked a dick. She may have been over a chair and taken it anal. I don't know. Anyway, but you got to ask that, because if you don't know anything about economics and you don't know anything about money and you've never had a job in the economic environment and you don't understand the stock market and you don't understand world markets, why do you have this job? All right. I mean, I got to talk about Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, everybody else is, look, Kimmel's whiny ass speech. I covered it last night. What a douchebag. I got nothing to say on Jimmy Kimmel. Disney probably bought his ass back. I don't know why. He's gonna have even worse ratings now, because now people actually hate him. That's bad. So let's talk about economy. We're going to talk about this Texas shooter in a little bit, but we're going to talk about some economy shit right now. Economically, we have, and this is where I got interrupted last night, by the way, folks. So I'm going to try and combine what I was going to talk about last night with today's stuff. Hopefully we'll get there. In the meantime, there's a couple of good comments in chat. Anson Knowles says the Fed's job is to take orders from the banks that control it. She doesn't need intelligence, only obedience. The Fed governor's job is to decide whether or not to listen to what the banks say and to put the banks in line. That's a problem. That's why Trump fired her, is that she was agreed, Buddha. She was an albino DEI hire. Sure. Basically, the way it ends up is you can't put someone like this back in the job of Fed governor, who is basically deciding whether or not to listen to the banks or let the banks run wild. And by saying that she doesn't need intelligence, only obedience, you underline the problem, you underline the issue. The underlying issue, or the more important issue, is that if the Fed governor is being obedient to the banks, we have a serious problem. So that's exactly why I don't understand why she was in that position. That's the exact opposite of what the country needs, but exactly exactly what the banks were looking for sure. ZD Den, right. One has to wonder how Jimmy Kimmel got his job back. Just saying. There might have been a whole bag of Richards, whole bag of dicks involved. I don't know. I don't want to know, to be honest, but there it is. It's out there now. All right, anyway, let's talk about some money. All right, so AI-driven optimism has driven U.S. stocks higher, but that's only half the story. As I said last night, the other half of the story is the fact that right now companies are using more and more AI, especially in coding, reviewing, all jobs that typically they were hiring human beings for. Now they're using AI. They've laid those people off. Those people getting laid off has pumped up their profit margins, and that makes them look good, and that pushes the stock market higher. It does it every single time. While we can celebrate the fact that the stock market is hitting all-time highs pretty regularly right now, the reality is that if you're actually paying attention, this has the smell of doom all over it. Because if you have 2,500 or 25,000 or 100,000 coders and tech people who are used to working in offices, sitting at a desk all day, drinking coffee, pounding away on a computer, if those jobs dry up, what the fuck do those middle midgets do all day? Nothing against people who work behind desks, but a lot of those people aren't qualified to drive a car. What are you going to do? Let them go drive truck? No. What are they going to do? They've been told for 30 years, go get a degree in computer science. Go work in the tech industry. You're going to make a bunch of money, kid. Now, my wife is calling me. She just doesn't want me to talk about money. Just stand by, guys. Anyway. Should have learned that water flows downhill and put in plumbing. That's right. Best Buy is laying off massive amounts of their Geek Squad agents. They found out this morning. They are in the retail tech sector. Yes, because AI can process all of the claims faster. And people don't like to talk to people anymore anyway. I'm just saying, guys, look, you look at this as a boom. I'm telling you, this is gonna have some serious ramifications in the job market in the near and far future. Mr. Alley Cat says this is a temporary measure. I'm assuming counteracting force that the 100K bounty on H-1B1 is opening up jobs in that sector. Yes, I'm not worried about H-1Bs anymore. H-1Bs are. Unless, I just don't care about them. I don't believe we're going to have a massive influx of immigrants coming in to work shitty ass jobs. AI is going to do it all anyway, so it's not gonna matter anymore. They need 1 out of 10 people, right? Like the people that are actually doing all of this. Apparently I missed something here. Let me find avoided Hornet. What did maybe I missed? I feel like I missed a comment, but that's okay. We'll get to it. Look, it's just a fact of the matter, right? Is that tech jobs are going to be being severely impacted by AI. I've sat in on some meetings with people that know, and I'm telling you, AI is going to be rough for people in the tech industry. Right. Yeah. Stuff like claims processing, reviewing data. Some data review is going to require human eyes. But again, they're just not going to need the amount of tech people that they've needed and coding people and all of that. It's just, I'm telling you, this is what we're seeing right now, right? As companies downsize, get rid of people, they're pumping up their profits And at least in the short term, we're at a stock market all-time high. I'm telling you, and even the Federal Reserve Governor Michelle Bowman warns of a labor market softening. That was the word she used, was softening. I don't know if that's an accurate word, but Chair Powell has made the same concerns, I believe. Silver's, I said last night, silver remains volatile. It's $44.07 an ounce. CD rates are holding at 440. It's a good place to put some money right now. And again, as we started talking about last night, financial literacy is finally being recognized as a serious fucking problem in this country. It hasn't been for a long time. I think I don't know that I don't know how many people realize this, but for the most part, for a long time now, sorry, I had to move my screens around. For a long time now, people have, especially people in the markets and people that kind of deal banking, real estate, that kind of thing. They've kind of held this stance that we don't really need a lot of financial literacy in this country, and it's it's that was weird. That was weird. I didn't do that. It was strange. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, so sorry, I got to gather myself back up because I don't remember where I browned out at. Anyway, all right. So look, there's been an overall concern amongst most people that we just don't have financial literacy in this country. I'm one of those people that believes that we have a serious problem with people understanding how finances work, how money works, how credit really works, how all of this works. Now you've got the Treasury Secretary saying the same thing. And the reason that the Treasury Secretary is saying this is because people are watching YouTube. I mean, seriously, I'm going to put this out there, guys. People are watching YouTube videos or they're watching TikToks and they're investing money, but they don't actually understand what they're investing in. They have no financial literacy. And then the market moves one way or the other. Those people freak out and do stupid shit like dump all their money out or put more, put all their money in. And it creates a very volatile economy and a lot of economic uncertainty amongst the rank and file. So I don't know what they're going to do about it. I think it's promising that the Treasury Secretary recognizes that this is a problem, and so I will, hopefully they'll try and figure it out. I'm just going to really quickly answer a couple of things out here. I see that, Avoided Hornet is saying that the tech jobs have been booming. Yes, absolutely, for a long time now. AI won't change that. It certainly is changing that. We are still miles from seeing this implemented as a replacement. Not right now. We're seeing that real time, people getting laid off because AI is taking over their jobs. Now, it's not going, for like system admins and shit like that. Sure, those people aren't really going to go anywhere. You need actual eyeballs on things to make sure everything's working. But for especially like a lot of coding, a lot of of that is get more and more that's being done by AI. Now, one of the things is that even if it's a very interesting system. I was listening to a presentation the other day about it, about how they have AI write a code, and then they have another AI kind of review and correct it, and then finally they have a human run it to make sure it's working. But yeah, the one thing that I don't think AI can actually do is do physical production. I don't think that it can do. I think it can be used to some degree in quality control. I don't think it's there yet. So I think you're going to see a shift into other. I think you're going to see a shift back into human and machine jobs. Yeah, right. The rate of error is still like 60% in coding. That's why they use one AI to write it. They use another AI to check it, and then I don't know. Anyway, I was listening to the presentation the other day. It's actually pretty scary how far it's come, and why. So, pretty interesting. Now, obviously, these are not AIs like, they're not using Grok and shit, but whatever. So anyway, that's why the stock market is up where it is. And also, obviously, there's a lot of people investing into AI technologies, whether they should be or not. It remains to be seen. Personally, we're in a very interesting spot here, guys. We're in a very interesting spot. So my wife and I were talking about this the other night, and so if you look at it, if you just start looking at charts and kind of comparing, if you look at between 2005 and 2008, what we're seeing right now is between 2021 and 2025, we're seeing that same kind of slope and the same kind of thing happened where the housing prices went through the roof. Everybody was buying, they were paying over market, so on and so forth. And then the market retracted, and you have all of these, especially because of the way the Democrats changed the banking laws for investment properties. They didn't actually change the law; they just removed the restriction that made it so that you could use a conventional loan to purchase a rental property, which you shouldn't be able to do unless you're going to live in it for a year. So anyway, and also being able to use assessed or appraised rental income to qualify for the loan for those properties. And so what you end up doing is you have a bunch of people who speculate, and then they get cooked. And that's what we're seeing right now. It's been a very slow burn. The banks are doing a much better job than they did between 2005, 2008, but we're still right now we're on the precipice of where we were in 2008. So what I think we're going to see is we're going to see a massive retraction in the real estate market. Now, coastal areas, probably not so much, but certainly rural, small towns, that kind of thing. Most of America will see this. And with the way the economy is going right now, I really feel like you're going to see housing prices start to come down. The problem is that as the interest rate comes down, people will hopefully be able to start buying those houses, which will be meaningful. I think it'll help out a lot of people, but at the same time, I think it's the amount of houses that are underwater right now that are their mortgages are in negative equity makes it very hard for people to trade out. And as the value declines, it's going to make it even harder. So that may stymie the slide quite a bit unless there's a lot of foreclosures or defaults, that kind of thing. So it's going to be very interesting to see over the next few months what the real estate market does. But me personally, I'm the vulture on the fence right now. I'm waiting because the values are sliding, and I'm waiting to see it. Yes, correct, Angel Berber. That's absolutely true. but the bubble that we're in with real estate right now, it's about to burst. I actually have a thing from BlackRock that came out the other day. And now they're actually predicting that it's going to be a long-term slide on real estate, and that, you know, you're now, well, I mean, basically what I think most of the analysts at BlackRock and some other larger investment companies are saying is that to sell now and then buy in 6 or 8 months as the values continue to drop, and just, you know, take profit now. I'm not doing that. I'm keeping, but I'm looking to buy within probably the next 6 months or a year. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm not keeping up with chat. I really don't. I don't mean to be rude to you guys, but unless I just absolutely, you know, I got to just get through this stuff. So I'm trying to focus and not read the chat too much, not get too much caught up in it. But here we go. But wouldn't housing prices decline? Wouldn't people that own their house also make their value decrease? Yes, if they want to sell. That's exactly what I'm saying, Buddha. So let's say that you are somebody that bought in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, when the prices were just climbing, right? And if you bought in 2020, you did okay because you bought a $400,000 house. It's now probably valued at $800,000 or $600,000. But if you bought in 2023, which was a record year for home sales, I mean, they were selling homes like they were hotcakes. People were spending or paying over market. Offers were coming in at 40,000 over asking. So when you have that in 2021 to 2023, what you end up having is, now that we've had a retraction, those homes aren't worth the $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 that people paid for them. They're worth $500,000, $600,000, whatever it is. So if I owe, right? If I owe, because I took out this big ass mortgage, if I owe $500,000 on a $600,000 house, I can't sell it, because not only will I lose money, because in the market today, you know, somebody will want to give me $475,000 for it. Not only can I not sell it because I got to pay off my mortgage, but I'm back. I'm in negative equity on my loan. So even if I did sell it, I couldn't go buy another house. And so this is the trap that homeowners are in right now. A lot of them overpaid. So we'll see what happens. Personally, I think we're gonna see a lot of what happened in 2005. Maybe not as many foreclosures, but people are going to walk away from properties and just give it back to the bank, because if you're $50,000 to $100,000 in negative equity on a property, you have two choices. You either keep making the payments and live in it another 10 years, which most people are going to do, or you walk away from it. And I'm just telling you, I think a lot of people are going to start walking away from it because all of their other expenses have gone up as well. So when they got this mortgage and they were making, you know, they make $8,000 a month or $5,000 a month, whatever their income is, and they're paying $2,500 or $3,000 a month on a mortgage, you know, the $2,000 or $3,000 that they had every month to live on, that was fine. Pay their car payments, go out to eat, put food on the table, put gas in the car, pay the insurance. But gas has gone up. Well, gas hasn't gone up as much, but food's gone up. Everything, insurance has got, everything's gone up across the board. So now that cushion is gone. So there's no, so, you know, if you're one of the people that are stuck in that, either you make peace with walking away and having bad credit for 7 years, which some banks are working with people to, you know, try and sell the house to wholesalers to at least get them to break even or close. And, you know, but others, I mean, other people are, I mean, it's going to be bad. It's going to be ugly. So at the same time that all of this is going on, you know, you have people that really don't even want to buy a house. The other thing that BlackRock and others have, one of the things that they're forecasting is that as boomers die, a lot of their progeny don't want the house. They don't want, they don't want their parents' house, or their parents owed a lot on the house. They took out took out a reverse mortgage or something. So the idea here is that we're going to have a massive number of houses available. Like the inventory over the next year or 2 years could increase to the point that it drives the value of everything back down. And so you can look at it that way. And I don't know why anybody, I mean, the problem is I don't see that happening. One of the things is I don't think that most boomers that are passing away now, I don't think most of them own their house. I think they mostly have mortgages on them. And yeah, we saw a delinquency rate avoided Hornet. That's true. The delinquency rate, it's a tough predictor because you don't know why people are being delinquent. It could be holiday spending. It could be any number of things that, blip in the market. I think the more important number is how many mortgages are in negative equity. How many people owe, $500,000 on a $500,000 house, right? And they just can't get out of it. So that I think that's more, to me, that's the more important indicator. And for me, for people like me, if you're out there and you want to buy houses, you want to go do some stuff. Number one, be willing to fix houses up, because the other thing we're seeing is you can't go to the bank right now. Most homeowners can't go to the bank right now and pull out a home equity loan or a line of credit like we were seeing back in the past 5 or 6 years, because the banks aren't going to give it to them. And what this means is that when I was shopping for a house back in 2019, 2020, when I was shopping for a house, every single house I looked at needed nothing, because the owners had gone out and they'd gotten a home equity loan for 30 grand or 40 grand or whatever it was, and replaced all the appliances, and they painted everything, and they put in new floors and new carpet, and there was nothing to bargain with on the houses, right? Like everything had been done, with landscaping, all of that. And so they were asking top dollar. So they would take a $250,000 house and make it a $300,000 or $350,000 house. And the sellers made more money. They paid the bank back and everything was great. So right now they can't do that. So what you're buying now, if you go to, like in my area, if I go look at a house right now, we can clearly see that that's not happening. Because all of the houses are basically, it needs, refrigerator, the appliances are 5 years old or 10 years old, or, it'll need something like the floor, they're not redoing the floors. They're not painting it. Maybe they put some paint on it. And it's an interesting time right now, I think. Fixer uppers aren't worth it. I disagree, man. I've been doing pretty good with fixer upper. I think it depends on the area of the country. I'm doing a lot in Columbus, Ohio right now, and I'm looking at San Antonio for the next stop. As long as the payments are being made, then the banks are good. But when people stop paying is the moment those loans become baggage to the banks. Well, that's a problem. Is people are slowing down to pay. They're paying half payments. They're a lot of things. The banks are really working with people because. The banks are really working. They don't want what happened between 2005 and 2008, where the banks were foreclosing and they ended up with, a red sheet that was, 300-400 properties long. I remember when I was in Denver when that happened, and I was getting daily foreclosure notices from the bank on properties to go by. So Yeah. Well, and again, avoided Hornet, that's the problem we're facing now, because exactly what happened in '05 happened back in 2020. As soon as Biden got into office, the first thing he did was to he did it day one. He removed all of the restrictions on the bank that Trump had put in place, like you could buy a rental property without living in it for a year, making it your primary residence for a year. You could buy a property on a conventional mortgage without the constraints of a commercial mortgage. All you had to do was walk in and say, I want to do it. When Trump was in office, he put restrictions in place that said that banks could not loan on an investment property unless you lived in it for a year. Some places it was 2 years, but I think it was pretty much universally a year. And how soft my hands are, brother. Look at all that scar tissue, baby. Look at that. Look at that. This is a good one. Look at all that scar tissue, baby. But my calluses have calluses. What are you talking about? So the other thing that really fucked the market was, so if you were one of these people, and I'll give you an exact example here in a minute. So yeah, bar fights, that's true as well. Although I don't go to bars anymore, but yeah, I got a lot of scar tissue in my hands. So the other thing that banks could do and did is they considered appraised rental value for the mortgage. So if I went to and I'm going to tell you this exact thing happened to me. I'm going to give you an exact example. So in 2019, when I was, we're out shopping for properties, and I went in and we were going to buy we were going to add a third rental property here in Tennessee. We had California, Colorado, and we wanted to add a third one in Tennessee. And we were not going to live in the house at all, and went to the bank, and that's, we can't put you on a conventional. We could do it on a, sorry guys, my internet must be glitching today. At any rate, they could do it on a commercial loan, but they couldn't do it on a conventional. Commercial loans have different restrictions, higher interest, all kinds of things. So when I went to, so a year later, Trump loses. Day one, Biden goes in, changes everything, removes all the restrictions off the banks. I kid you not. It was like the end of January. I get a call from my banker saying, hey, if you're still looking to buy those properties, we can do those loans now. We can do your rental properties on a conventional. I said, all right, cool. I didn't do them on a conventional. I paid cash for my rental properties, but yeah, it was no bueno. So, and what that allowed people to do, what it allowed people to do is it allowed people to go out and be speculators. And you saw all these TikTok videos at the time of the BRRR approach, and basically they would buy it, they would renovate it, rent it, refinance it, and then repeat. And so that you have all of this debt being supported by rental income only. So if you have a click, right, you have a problem. If you have something go on, a glitch in the system, 6 months of the house being empty because nobody wants to rent it, or your rent's too high or whatever, or you can't rent it for enough, and the market changes, you can't rent it for a high price, and now you're having to come out of pocket every month, then that's a problem. So, and that's that's one of the things you're seeing right now. So it's At any rate, that's a big part of the reason why we're seeing the real estate issue that we have currently. Again, I think it's about to be a really good time to buy if you're in a position to do so, especially if you're looking to buy rental properties. I do disagree with Buddha about Section 8. I've had bad luck with Section 8. Yes, the rent gets paid on time. However, the amount of damage done to the properties is, to me, it's just not worth the effort. And one of the things, like we actually have this problem in Ohio with one of the properties in Ohio right now is, we thought we had a good tenant in there. That tenant has, lost their job, having to move back out of state, all kinds of things. So they're breaking the lease. They actually did take care of the property, which is good. But if we had put a Section 8 in there, sure, they wouldn't have had to do that, but I'm pretty sure we'd be replacing a lot of stuff. I've not had a good experience with Section 8, and everyone I know has said kind of the same thing. So I guess if you have cheaper houses or whatever, yeah, you can do that. I actually don't do Section 8 at all myself. I do know people that do it, and they do okay. I'm just not willing to. I'm not willing to take an extra few dollars, or even not even an extra few dollars a month. I'm not willing to go in at the end and have to burn every bit of profit I made in that property off and repairing it. Yeah, I have one Airbnb and it's doing pretty good, but it would not. It's like it's only an Airbnb because I don't want to rent it out full time because I like going there. I like that house. So yeah, I mean, I know the guys over at Boxable and all that. Well, I think you're going to see a lot more homes being built, and I think that's going to lead to a lot of blue collar jobs. So anyway, that's a brief of this morning's stuff. What's up, Natalia? Good to see you. Good to see you. I don't know about Skittles, but it's good to see you. Sometimes that's true, but it depends because the infrastructure being built can drop the price of a house as well. Yeah, I mean, actually, the problem here is not the price of the house; it's the price of the land. So, yeah, it's the price of land here. So, like right now, you can't really touch anything more or less for under 10,000 an acre right now, and that's a lot. I mean, I was buying at 500 an acre not long ago. It's crazy. It's just nuts. So anyway, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about this ICE shooter gig. So what we know, right? What we absolutely know is the shooter wrote anti-ICE on his bullets. He took himself out at the end. Yeah. And his entire social media was scrubbed, but before it was scrubbed, it's reported by I think legitimate sources. I don't know. I'm not gonna. Other people may not. I don't know. But that the shooter was a leftist. He was a raging leftist. That his mom was a raging leftist, and we're not really. But he didn't leave a as far as we know to current. There's no manifesto. There's no, nothing written down. Again, all of the social media has been scrubbed. Everything's been scrubbed. And now, now they're trying to say that, well, he wasn't really violent or whatever. And so what I can, from what I can tell, I'm open to discussion on this, but from what I can tell, the shooter was Joshua John, something like that. He's a 29-year-old male from the Dallas area, specifically linked to Collin County, Texas. He also had ties to Oklahoma. Which whole Tylenol thing, Natalia? Help me out with that. I don't know which Tylenol thing we're talking about. He had a history of minor legal issues. We know that he had a bunch of scrapes of the law. Yeah, detainees were shot, but I think that's just bad aim. Didn't have any specifics. On the available reports, on the police reports, right? He also had experience with firearms. The firearm was a rifle, supposedly borrowed from his father. I'm not really sure about that because we don't even know what it was yet. My guess is we're going to find out. We're going to find out it's another like 30-06 or 308 battle or hunting rifle. Nothing like too cool. There's just such limited information. Oh, I did read that, Buddha. I did read that. Yeah, right. ICE was like Operation Human Shield. Yeah. I mean, that's probably true. I just think it's bad aim. I don't think the guy knew what he was doing. Yeah. Apparently he borrowed the weapon. It wasn't even his. He's and again, everything's been scrubbed. I mean, it wasn't scrubbed fast enough. I remember seeing, just as this was happening, people posting up, from his Facebook where he had some very leftist things. His mom was a raging lunatic, is a raging lunatic leftist. His father is now saying that. Well, wait a minute. Let's talk about the weapon used and all of that. Let's talk about this ICE thing just really briefly. All we know for a fact is that it's a rifle. They haven't said anything else. And there's a post on X that says that the kid borrowed it or the 29-year-old man borrowed it from his dad. There's no specific details about make, model, modifications. None of that's publicly available. Investigation ongoing, right? We also don't know whether it was scoped or we don't know. The number of things we don't know is pretty amazing. They did recover unspent shell casings, which are bullets, by the way. I don't know why the press always has to say things in the most fucked up way, but they're saying shell casings. They're not casings, are bullets. They found unspent bullets, unfired, by the way. This is more correct way to say that. Near the shooter's position, one of which was engraved, not written. He didn't write it on with Sharpie, but engraved with the phrase anti-ICE. Kind of highlights who he was aiming at there. There's a photo of those casings out there. I didn't pull it up. It's out there if you want to go look at it. I have not I've heard about it. I've not seen it yet, Buddha. So basically, somehow this young man got on a rooftop opposite, adjacent, whatever, to the ICE facility in off of the freeway near Interstate 35E in the Love Field area of Dallas. Now, I've been there. I've flown into Love Field a couple of times. I don't remember that specific building, but sure, I believe it. He fired multiple rounds indiscriminately, which just means he was just spraying and praying at the building, targeting a van in the facility's Sally Port, where the victims, all detainees, were located. The attack occurred at 6:40 Central Daylight Time. It should be Central Standard Time. We're not, but that's okay. I'll forgive whoever wrote that. News doesn't know. That's true. They never get anything right. Yeah. Yeah. So the FBI are investigating this shooting as an act of what they call targeted violence. They don't know they don't know why he did it. They just know that he did it, and it was for an ideological reason, and not just because, right? We may never know the real reason because the guy, shut himself down. Mostly, it's the anti-ice inscription on the shell on the cartridge casing that is the problem, and it strongly suggests that he was in opposition to ice. Well, I think that if we can recover the social media, we may find more information about that. Let's see what else. The attack occurred amid heightened tension over Trump's aggressive deportation policies. Sure. Okay. And other ICE facilities have been targeted. Sure. Okay. By the way, I'm probably gonna laugh. I'm gonna laugh a lot if this ends up being a 30-30 lever action deer rifle. I will laugh so hard. So hard. So very hard. All right, anyway. So obviously there's one casualty, 2 wounded. Self-inflicted wound on the shooter, and pretty clean. Yeah, I don't know why they do that. Glare 409. The unfired bullets were on a 5-round stripper clip. 5-round stripper clip. It's like a Lee Enfield, maybe. Maybe an M1. We'll find out. Anyway, all right. So I don't want to get too distracted. A lot of gaps in the information here, guys. This is one of the problems, right? Like with when they start scrubbing all the information, is that now nobody has it except the authorities, and they're going to trickle that shit out. There are no further specifics have come out about the family's background, beliefs, or involvement. However, it was like 5 minutes into it, they'd already found his mother's Facebook where she's a raging leftist, and found his post where he was a raging leftist as well. We don't know if they had specific anti-ICE campaign. Yes, Robert Demita, I do believe that the Garand is an 8-round stripper clip, but they may have only loaded 5. And the Enfield, the Lee Enfield, I believe, is a 5 or 6 round stripper clip, but I don't remember. I haven't had a Mark III in a long time. Mama said ice was the devil. That's probably true. That's probably true. Mauser's 8mm. Unless it's been rebarreled to 30-06. Like I may have done that once or a dozen times before. Obviously, all of the activity has been scrubbed from online. So all of the press is basically reporting that lacking an amount of overt activity, we do not assign anything to the shooter or whatever the fuck. That's all horse shit. It was scrubbed. We all know it was scrubbed. That's it. Oh, he's got a picture. Avoided Hornet is the man. He's got a picture. I'm going to actually blow that up. And we're going to share that. Stand by. Avoided Hornet just sent me this. This is awesome. You can see right there. It says anti-ice right there. Now this flies in the face of the official report because they said it was engraved. Maybe engraved it and then wrote over it. I don't know. That looks for it is a rim. It looks like a rimmed case. That could be a Mosin Nagant, which would be like no wonder he didn't hit anything. Like I now understand why he didn't hit anything he actually aimed at. Mosin Nagants are about as accurate as a fly swatter. So that's okay, Buddha. No, there's no risk of a misfire, Alley Cat, if you know what you're doing. He's also shooting into a window. Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, you can scratch engrave anything. There are other ways to do it too. Anyway, but that's legit. Avoided Hornet. So yeah, that's why they said indiscriminately avoided Hornet. That's why they said indiscriminately, because there was no real line of sight. He was shooting into he was shooting into a vehicle, I believe, a van. So he didn't know what he was shooting. He just assumed everybody was an ICE agent. That's pretty legit. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sorry. Anyway, yeah. All right. Cool. Appreciate that. Recessed rim. That looks like a rimmed cartridge to me. That looks exactly like a Mosin. I mean, it could be. It could be an infield. Hang on, I actually have some infield rounds, but you guys would have to sit through I'd have to run into the other building to get them. Yeah, always range test your weapon before critical use. Absolutely. Stripper clips, by the way, suck to load bolt action rifles. Carsano, that's reaching back if it's a Carsano, bro. I know what a Carsano is. I tell you what, guys, man, I really kind of want to go. Maybe I'll. Man, I want to go grab some. I want to go grab some stuff. They do look like 54R rounds, but they also could be Lee Enfield rounds. It would actually be ironic if he was using the famous JFK gun in Dallas. Right, Glare? Come on. Using a JFK gun in Dallas? What? Irony much? The one they reported, yeah, right. Yeah. No audio. That's funny. That's dark. That's some dark humor. I haven't seen a Moisen stripper clip in a long time. I could run and grab some Lee Enfield rounds, but unfortunately, I got to sit here in front of the camera. So maybe I'll do that this evening. I'll go grab them. You haven't seen us. That's funny. That's funny. All right. So anyway, all right. We've been enough. We've been off topic enough. All right. None of the there's just so few details on this. It really does seem like there's an active investigation going on, that they actually, like they're really trying to figure some things out. Yeah. So apparently the shooter attended the University of Texas at Dallas from 2014 to 2015, studying mechanical engineering, transferred to college from 2015-2017, pursuing computer science, worked briefly at Solar Time USA, a solar engineering company from 2018-2019. He was unemployed at the time of the incident, but had an interest in coding. He was also a former Boy Scout, where associates described him as nonviolent and against gun violence. It's always the ones that say they're against gun violence that are the most gun violent. Let's see. Registered as independent voter in Oklahoma. He voted in the 2024 general election in Oklahoma and in the Democratic primary in Texas in 2020. Friends and family described him as the least political person they knew. I doubt that. One former Boy Scout troop member recalled the shooter expressing frustration about the handling of immigration, specifically mentioning migrant caravans, although this is obviously not an indication of extreme violence. Anyway, that's probably enough. He's got a brother, Noah, and a sister, Kayako. I can't pronounce it. Sister's got a record, like a big one, like 3 arrests in Collin County, Texas since 2017, a misdemeanor assault charge in 2019. And possession of Mary Jane in 2022. Yeah, wow. Yeah. Yeah, all right. That's all the details I got. Bet she's fun. Yeah. Anson can fix her. Anson can fix her, ladies and gentlemen. So there you go. So that's it. Raging Patriot says he also can still fix her. All right. So when I was in the Crucible this morning, and I was talking to him, and we were talking about, money and how to get where things are going and whatnot. And I said, I would be willing to talk about it on my show today, so we'll get into it a little bit. Yeah, remember, all serial killers were always some nice, quiet, active in their community, the nicest people you'd ever know. So avoided Hornet. I don't disagree with you. However, the very first things that I saw before everything was scrubbed was that this guy and his mom are raving lunatic leftists, like probably leftists are embarrassed about them. And now that's all been scrubbed. Like I don't think you can find it. If you can, it'd be awesome. But it really, that was the very first, like the very first things I saw once they had the identity was that this guy, once we had the information who it was, there was some information and then all of it was scrubbed. So, which is typical now. That's like the first thing the police do is once they figure out who it is, they go and scrub everything. So, all right. So I don't know if that fellow is in the chat, the fellow who wanted to hear all of this stuff. Let me see if I can find him in the Discord. Has Destiny actually been demonetized? While I'm looking for this, I keep reading. So I know that he was trolling everybody with his like years old Twitch ban or demonetization or whatever. He was trolling people on that or with that. But has he been demonetized anywhere else? I mean, that would be weird if he had, because he's said some really fucked up shit. And nobody seemed to care. So. Oh, you got to head out? You have a good one, Avoided Hornet. Let me see if that fellow is ready to. You're on a road glide? I think I might buy an Indian FXR. I hadn't considered one before, but I was in the bike shop last week, and man, that thing was awesome. Yeah, Destiny is just destroying himself, but I don't know that Destiny is actually. I don't know that. So I know that he trolled everybody with his years old. Banned from Twitch, which was funny because like, you guys got me banned from Twitch, now I won't make any money. And I'm like, dude, you got banned like 2 years ago. What's up? All right. Found it. Get my my keyboard blocked. All right. Yeah. So anyway, the Indian FXR is cool. Yeah, absolutely. There's a carbon edition, and they want like, it's so cheap, man. It's just like, I can't believe it's as cheap as it is. And I'm like, dude, I need to buy this. I just honestly don't have room for another motorcycle. Yeah. All right. All right. You can always room for another motorcycle. I don't know, man. I do not have the Ice Girls digits. Sorry, bro. I got to be honest with you. I don't really like Harleys that much. I rode my brother's, and I wanted to like it, but it's literally like, I like the idea of a Harley, but it's like driving a lazy boy down the street, and I just can't get into it. The Indians seem to be a little bit, they have a little bit more power. They're just cleaner. They come with a lot of stuff, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I had never even considered an Indian because, all right, so I went in looking at a Ducati Scrambler just to have an around time. So what I need right now, I have something that fills the hole, but I want something. What I want is I want a fuel injected bike that is a slightly more upright riding position, a little bit more maneuverable around town, and just something I can ride to the gym or ride, to meet my wife for lunch or whatever. It is like, right. Look, I'm going to tell you, man, Harley's like driving down the road in an easy boy or lazy boy or whatever the fuck those things are. Easy chair. It just are like, I don't know. I don't get it. To me, and maybe it would be different if I was riding something like, a stripped down chopper or a Sportster or something like that. But all of the glides, all of the Kings, all of the, all of the big bikes, they just, to me, they just don't have any soul to them. They don't excite me at all. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my style, right? Like, I'm not into it. So anyway, but I was looking, I want something that's just kind of fun around town. Cause I've got a CBR 900 F4 that's just stupid fast. I've got a Z1000 R that's also stupid fast, and loud, and it fills that cafe bike, or street fighter bike kind of slot for me. I've got two vintage bikes. I got these two Hondas. They're awesome. They're in paint right now. Or one's out of paint technically. I need to put it back together, but they're carbureted, and there's just something about walking out to like the difference between the CBR and the Z1000 is I can walk out to the Z1000 and just hit the button and it's going to fucking start. With the CBR, it will start, but you're going to have to fuck with the choke a little bit, and you have to let it warm up before you even think about driving it. are riding it, and it's just, I don't know. But I really like the CBR, and I really like the Z1000. But I wanted something that was a little bit more upright. And I have the vintage bikes, but they're carbureted, so, and they have kind of that riding position I want. But anyway, so I'm like, I'm looking at these more upright riding position bikes: Triumph Bonneville, Triumph Trident, Ducati Scrambler, the new CB 550 or whatever, something like that, right? And the sales guy's like, "Hey, have you ever thought about an Indian?" He's like, because he's listened to me talk about, how I've cafe'd out these bikes, and I just like that. I kind of like, I bounce back between new and older bikes. And he's like, have you ever looked at an Indian? I'm like, no, I haven't. My CBR is, my F4 is carbureted. I have a F4, not an F4i. So I have the last of the carbureted CBRs, and until recently, it was the highest output CBR. What's up? So anyway, he's like, "Hey, you got to come check out this bike," and I'm like, okay. So I assume that he's going to show me like a Suzuki or a Kawasaki or something like that. We roll over, and sure enough, he walks right up to this Indian, and this thing is rad. I mean, it's carbon fiber, red paint, Olin shocks, or complete Olin suspension, dual Brembo racing brakes, 1200 cc water cooled V-twin. It just sounds so good. And it makes, like, with a tune on it, make 150 horse, big tire. I mean, it's just like, it's got a lot going for it. And they're normally like 18 grand or 20 grand. And they had it discounted down. And with the current $3,000 discount, it'd be 15 grand, 15.8, something like that. And I'm like, dude, it's crazy. I'm like into it. But I don't know. I can't, it's hard for me to justify another motorcycle. Like I got a lot. So my wife I'll have to figure something out. Yeah. Blair, you gotta go look at those FXRs, man. I mean, they're ridiculous. Cruise control, electronic ride control. They have ABS. They have all of it, man. It was like, this thing is crazy. So launch control, relay control, all of it. It's just crazy. It's just nuts. But anyway, so I was asked earlier over in the Crucible about how I got to where I'm at, and I'm gonna explain that. I've talked about this before, but I'm gonna try and just kind of really quickly roll through this, and then maybe I'll bring some people up and we'll do a quick panel for the last hour. So I started off. I went to I started off like a lot of people. I went to school. I ended up qualifying for a kind of a scholarship program to a military school. And so I went to a military school, did okay, got out of, graduated high school, and then went to college. College was just dumb for me. I didn't do bad, but I didn't excel at it. I don't think I excelled at it. And it was literally like the worst money I ever spent. Like it was the worst investment I've ever made. So I get out of college and I'm running movie theaters, and I'm racing. I was racing myself, right? I was never in the military. I know people get that a lot, but it was military school. I can talk about that at another point. I can go into that, but so I get out of college. I've got a kind of a schmuck job And what I really want to do is I really want to do racing. I just want to go racing. All I cared about in life at that moment in time was racing. And I ended up working at this shop while I was in college, and it was just a regular straight mechanic shop. And the opportunity came up to go to work for a race shop. The guy really liked me, liked my attitude, liked the fact that, you know, the way that I can talk about things, the way I comport myself, and all of that. And even then, you know, and I had a lot of time. I have a lot of time in learning stuff. I just absolutely, you know, the gamut of knowledge is pretty vast. And one of the things, interestingly enough, one of the things about it that has served me so well is I was always willing to learn no matter what. And so I started working at this race shop as a kind of a part-time gig. Well, actually it became a full-time gig. And then I was feeding that part of me that really wanted to go racing without actually me having to go racing. But I wasn't really making a lot of money. I was making a little bit of money. I wasn't making a lot of money. I came up with a plan while I was at the race shop in North Carolina that I wanted to open my own race shop. And I left there and I went to work for somebody else. I did mercenary work for about a year or two. And, you know, it can make good money, but it's a tough life, man. No, I'm very reading smart. I read like you can't even believe. But I'm very good at visualizing things, if that makes it and I have like 95, 98% recall, anything seen, heard, or read. Right. I used to. My brain's starting to short out, but I had extremely good recall. I learned things really quickly. You know, I'm highly trained to be highly trained, basically. And so I went, when I was at the race shop in North Carolina, I went about learning every single job in the shop. So I was hired in as a mechanic, a technician, because I knew a lot about Porsche, and I had done some Porsche restoration. And I ended up becoming a Porsche racing technician for a while. And so when I was with this race shop in North Carolina, you know, we had some of the best people in the world to learn from. And I learned from the engine builder. Even though I knew how to build engines, I learned from the engine builder. When I would work with the electronics guys, I would learn about that. I learned TIG welding. I learned metal fabrication. I learned how to run the machines. I learned how to use a mill and lathe. I learned all of that stuff just every day. Every day I would learn some new skill. I learned how to machine the engines. I learned how to, I learned how to use a valve machine. I learned how to, mercenary work. When I say mercenary work, by the way, I mean I was working for race teams that would hire me to come work for them. I was a free agent, right? We'll get into that in a minute. So anyway, when I was at the race shop, I learned every skill I could. Every single person there was a master of their art, and I took advantage of that. And I read everything I could read. Like I read David Vizard's, How to Build Horsepower. I read, every book that Carol Smith wrote on how to, fasteners, plumbing, engineer to win. I read all of them, and I could put it into play. And the other thing I can do really well is I can look at a problem and I can tear it apart in my brain and then come out with the answer. So, and so that was a very key thing in my learning, right? So I left the race shop to go to work for a race team in World Challenge. I had actually been offered a job by somebody else, but I didn't take it. And again, I was doing mostly mercenary work at this time. So basically the way that worked is I would fly in on, or pardon me, if you had a race car, right? Let's say Buddha had a race car or race team, but he only had like people that kind of sort of knew how to do stuff. He didn't have any pro guys. He would call me up and he'd say, "Hey, I need 2 guys that really know what the fuck they're doing. You're one of them." So I would come down and I would be the hired pro, right? Like I'm the guy. So I would send over my contract. They'd sign the contract. They'd fund the account. I'd get on a plane. I'd fly to wherever in the country they needed, or drive to wherever in the country they needed me. And I'd make a bunch of money. I was basically at that time, this was 2000, 99 and 2000, 2000, right into early 2001. And I was charging $500 a day. A day was an 8-hour period. And I would literally bill people. If I was, if I got to the track at 6 a.m. and I didn't leave the track until 6 the next morning, that's 3 days. You owe me $1,500 for that time period, right? And so, so I could, or actually, I guess 24 hours, 4 days, but, right, yeah, kind of very similar to Shelby and some others, right? Like anybody that's been really successful in racing, that's kind of where it's at. And so I worked for this race team in California, in Morgan Hill. Took them further than they had ever been, right? And yeah, 3 days. Thank you, Paul Page. I don't know why I can't do math today, but when I would do these events or these track days or whatever, I was just getting paid. I would just go do a track day, a test day, and it's still the same amount. So $1,500, each time. And then I went to work for the guy in Morgan Hill. While I was there, September 11th happened, 2001. As I was flying back to Tennessee. So I was stuck in San Jose for several days, a week actually, from Tuesday to Saturday. And when I got back, I went to work for a local company, just doing whatever. And then I was just doing whatever would pay the bills. But racing, I couldn't get away from it. And I had a guy call me up one day and he says, "Hey, we need a guy. You've come highly recommended." And I was still doing work, right? Like I was still I'd go to the Road Atlanta with a vintage race team or a guy, or I would go to Mid Ohio with SCCA guys, club racing, whatever. Whoever would pay me, right? Like I really didn't even care what kind of car it was. I really did like to win though. And then I did some work with a BMW team that the NDA's expired, but there's no point in talking about it now. I did some work with a BMW team, and I enjoyed my lifestyle, but I was basically homeless, right? I was on the road so much that I gave up my apartment. I sold basically everything, and ended up like I would have all my mail was sent to my grandmother's house. When I was in town, I crashed on a friend's couch. Like we're friends to this day. And I would, I just call him up and be like, "Hey man, I'm gonna be in town 3 days, man. Can I hang?" And he's like, "Yeah, whatever." And so I would hang out with him for 3 days, help him work on his race program, his cars, and then move on. And so, that lifestyle gets to you. And I had talked to SCCA Enterprise. They were looking for someone to build their Formula Enterprise program. Formula Enterprise was a sports car that they were looking at doing. It's out there. It still exists. But they needed somebody to run the whole run the program, which meant part suppliers, contracting with different people, and all of this kind of nonsense. And I sent we were going back and forth for like a month, and I was talking to the guy that and the problem is that they couldn't pay me enough. Like, I really wanted to do it, but they couldn't pay me enough. I was making so much money, it just didn't make any sense. So he knew of a race team in Colorado that was hiring, and I went to work for that team and I literally told the owner of the shop that I didn't see me working there 5 years. I was like, I told him, we sat down. So, and look, I understand that not everybody has these kinds of things happen, right? But that guy chased me all season to get an interview. Like, because I was so busy, he knew who I was. Everybody knew who I was. I was well known. People knew who I was, knew what I was capable of, knew what I did. And so the owner of this team had been given my resume, had contacted me. We had talked, but I was under contract to these BMW guys, and I told and literally, and look, this is the size of balls I had at this point in my life, right? I have them now, but that's okay. But I mean, back then, and I remember now, I didn't have an actual job, right? I went and played race car, and people paid me to do that, right? So this guy calls me up. We have an hour or two conversation, and at the end of it, he's like, "Hey, I want you to come work for me." And I'm like, "I can't do that." And he's like, "Why not?" And I said, "Well, I just signed a contract with these BMW guys, and I wouldn't if I had signed a contract with you, I wouldn't break it, and I can't break it to them. And if I did break it to come work for you, I wouldn't feel good about it, and you shouldn't feel good about it, right? Like, if I'm willing to break a contract I just signed on something that may or may not be better, what kind of employee am I really at that point?" And that impressed him so much that he literally throughout the season, he would call me and say, "Hey man, when you're done, we need to talk." I would see him at the track. So at Road Atlanta, I remember at Road Atlanta, we were all there together, the touring cars and the GT cars. And I'm usually too busy at the track to go hang out and fuck around, right? But this one time I had a break. The car was broken. We were waiting on some parts to come in. I couldn't really do anything. So I go over and I'm like, "Hey man, I want to put a name to the face. I know you've seen me around, but we've never really talked face to face. I want to shake your hand, tell you what's up." And he's like, "I really appreciate it. Appreciate you coming out." And I didn't waste his time. One of the things that you will find that people are really fucking busy, literally guys, he said the number one thing out of all of that he always appreciated was I walked over. I said, "Hey man, we've been talking off and on all season. I wanted to put a name to the face. I want to shake your hand. I got to go. I got shit to do. And I don't want to take up any of your time." And Bob said that most people, when they try and meet him and talk to him about a job or whatever, waste an hour of his time running off at the mouth. And he said that was one of the key things that he always remembered about meeting me. So I flew home, or no, pardon me, I drove home from Road Atlanta because I'm in Nashville. And he called me from on the road. He was in Kansas or somewhere in the fucking semi, called me as he's driving home and said, "Hey man, when's your contract over? I want you to come out and help out. I wanted you to come and see what we're doing. And I think you're going to come work for me." And sure enough, I got home. I took a couple of days. My contract ran out with the BMW team. I got on a plane. I flew to Denver, and the guy put me up in his house for a week. I hung out with him for a week, and at the end of the week, he offered me a job, and I took it. But the interesting thing is, I told him up front, I'm like, "Look, I'm doing this because you are the key piece that I'm missing. You have a very successful race team, and you know how to run this as a business, and I don't. I'm excellent at what I do, but I'm missing a piece, and you have it, and I need to learn it from you." And so I worked for him in his shop, and I worked for him for a couple of 3 years, and then I got married, and once I got married, it was like, now I can't now. And I was I'd already kind of slowed down. I was in a shop guy, and I would, I didn't really want to go out on the road at that time. So I left that job and opened my own shop. And out of respect for my former employer, for the first 2 years, I didn't do any race cars. I didn't do any race car stuff because because as respectful as Bob had been to me, when it came time to leave, basically I walked in and I said, "Look, I can't do this anymore. I'm married now. I got to do something for myself. I've got, now I need to be a little more serious, and, I need to, this is where I need to be. I'm where I'm at, and I'm here because of you, but I'm where I'm at." And I basically didn't even give him really a lot of notice or anything like that. And he could have, and he would have been within his rights to not give me my severance package, to say bad things about me, all kind, or just, torpedo my reputation professionally. He could have done all of that, and I wouldn't have blamed him. But what he did was he paid me my full severance, wished me luck, and said, "We'll see you out there." And that was class. And this is how men really should deal with each other, right? This is how everybody should deal with each other, but men for sure 100% should deal with each other this way. So out of respect for him, for 2 years, I didn't do any race cars because I didn't want him to think that I was stealing his business. If a customer of mine that had been at the shop, when I was at his shop, if they called me, I would say, "I appreciate it. I appreciate you looking me up. If you go talk to Bob and see if they can help you. If they can't help you, I'm happy to help you, but I'm not out to cut Bob's throat here." Right? I had plenty of work, and and I hired 3 or 4 guys. We were doing mostly street cars, a lot of tuning, a lot of turbocharged cars, a lot of, I did Vipers on nitrous. I did a lot of shit, man. A lot of cool stuff. And in that time frame, I let the 2 years go. After the first year, I'd been in business. I bought a couple of race cars. Right. I didn't poach clients. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. And so that's, I would not poach clients. And he knew that. I mean, I think Bob didn't give a shit, right? Like, he didn't care, but I did. I did care. I didn't want him to think that I was poaching his clients. And I didn't want it to get around, because these are tight knit communities, right? And and like everybody fucking knows everybody, and everybody knows if you're a man and if your handshake is bond. I bought a $70,000 car on a handshake and took 4 weeks to get around to sending the guy the check, and he never called me. Do you know why? Because my word is good. If I say this is going to happen, it either happens the way I say it's going to happen, or I call you and say, hey man, this shit just got nuked. This is what we're going to do, and this is how I'm going to fix it. When you operate in a small community like that, you have to be the best you can be, right? And I'm not talking about giving shit. And worse is, like, I fired a lot of clients. I was widely respected because if I had a client and they were double dipping or they were fucking me over, I would fire their ass 100%. I literally told clients, all right, so I'll digress for 1 minute. This is a perfect example I'm talking about. I had a client, and one of my rules is if my shop, me, are working on your car, nobody else touches it. If you take it to another shop, if you take it to somebody else for an opinion or anything like that, I respect that. That's cool. That's your right. You own that car, but never bring it back to me. Because every time I don't care who touched the car last, the next guy, the next mechanic, the next shop, the next vendor is going to say, man, I can't believe he did that. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I don't care. I've seen it over and over again. And I don't deal with that kind of bullshit. So I would literally, I would tell them, just don't come back. Don't bring it back. I don't want to see it again, ever. Don't bring it back. Right. So I had this client, we actually nicknamed him Squirrel because you just never knew which way that fucker was going to go. Right. Like he'd say, well, hey, we're going to, we're going to go to Mid-Ohio in 2 weeks. And then a week later he'd go, Mid-Ohio's out. We're going to go somewhere else. I'm like, fucking Squirrel. Right. And he had this BMW race car, and I took him down to the NASA Nationals or whatever the fuck they called them. It's probably 2013, probably 2012, 2013, somewhere along in there. Take him down there, and took him down to and he won, and he did exceptionally well. And the car was fast, everything was right. It was money. I did my job. He did his job. We came home with some hardware. We get back, and he wanted to dyno the car. And I said, look, man, I can't dyno. I've been gone for several days. I got other people that need to dyno ahead of you. So they're already booked on my dyno. I can't take a day away from the shop to go to somebody else's dyno while mine's tied up. We'll do it next week. And he says, okay. And he leaves. No problem. So then I get a phone call the following week, and he's like, hey, do you think Rebello put the hardened cam bolts in or not? I'm like, well, they're fucking Rebello. They know what they're doing. I would say they did. Right. Why do you ask? And he says, oh, the car's on the dyno and at Mac, and they want to know. And I'm like, okay, Mark, I need you to come get all your shit out of my shop. And you need to settle your bill by the end of the day. And he did. He sent somebody over, and he knew I was fucking dead ass serious about it too. He didn't argue. He didn't whine. He didn't cry. He knew he fucked up. He knew the rules. He fucked up, and that was the end of it. Mark, come get your shit out of my shop. So he sent his guy over. He settled his bill that day. He sent his guy over, and he took his shit out of my shop. He had a spare engine there and some parts and transmissions and shit. And that was it. Did not fuck around with that guy. And he to this day, he won't say, he literally tells everybody, I am the reason that he won his class, that he won his award. and he'll tell you that I'm one of the best guys to have, but I won't ever work with him again. And but when you are this way in life, nobody fucks with you like that, because they know. The whole paddock know. Like, everybody knew. Like, you probably still call people up and be like, hey, what about this guy? And is this what he does? 100%. And I mean, the reason that I am who I am is because of the reputation that I maintained, right? And so I opened my own shop, took 2 years out of racing, went back into racing, started, winning. I had, did a lot of winning, and but I had I had rules, man, and I absolutely did not. I just didn't fuck around about it. I had a lot of rules about dealing with customers, about how we would deal with things, about how, reality needed to be, what the reality absolutely had to be for me to do work on a car. So yeah, we never took photos. I never put that shit on Instagram or whatever. I didn't like shit of mine on the internet, because I'm really bad about not taking pictures of any of my work, because I came up in a very competitive environment when I was racing, and I worked in shops where the car chiefs, you'd have car chief on car 1 and car chief on car 2, and they would cover that shit at night with a locked cover so the other guy couldn't come over and open the hood and look at it or crawl underneath it. Like, that's how, I'm telling you, I worked in an atmosphere for years. I worked in an atmosphere where trust is it. If you say you're going to be somewhere, you need to be there. If you say that you're going to do X, you have to do X. 100%. And so, and here's the reality of it, right? Like, a lot of things you do in life really don't fucking matter, because nobody's going to get hurt. Property damage, maybe, if you fuck up, maybe there's a little bit of damage somewhere, whatever. But every single time one of my cars went on the track, if something happened, someone could get very, very hurt. Very, very hurt. Like, wheel comes off, car slams into the wall at, 150 miles an hour, right? Brakes fail and they just go off track into the fucking trees, right? We had a sway bar come loose on a car once. It wasn't my car. It was somebody else's car. It's the hat, man. It's the hat. We had a car we were working with. This is a 935. It's a vintage car. That car was $140,000 back in 1999, 98, wherever the fuck it was. $140,000 car. Mostly hand built. I mean, it's a badass car. 700 and some odd horsepower, 80 mile an hour first gear. It ripped along. It could hit an easy 180, 190. Could hit 200 in theory, but you need track for that. So this guy goes out, and I don't know. I can't remember who was running the car, but they had left the sway bar loose. They hadn't tightened or hadn't checked it. Hadn't nothing bolted it when it was in for service. At any rate, car goes on track. Guy's flying, and this isn't like a pro race driver either. This is like a club race guy. And dude, he lost it in 10A and B at Road Atlanta and damn near destroyed that car. He did $60,000 worth of damage to a $140,000 car. And because of a sway bar. And he could have really gotten hurt. I've watched cars burn to the ground because fuel fittings were left loose or came loose, weren't checked. I've watched. I mean, I've seen a lot of really fucked up shit. So if you say you're going to do something, you have to do it. If you say you're going to be, if you say this is my personality, your personality needs to be that. Right? And I take the same, I mean, it's the same thing in every aspect of my life. It's the same. I don't change. You know, my team members didn't talk about our car at all. Again, no pictures on Instagram unless I really had to. I mean, now I don't care, but because we're not racing. Yeah, the only two things you got are your name and your balls, you know? So, that's it. And there's, and that's, so that established me and that made my shop run well. And then, I bought a paint and body shop. The paint and body shop is just a license to print money. It just really is. And I never really cared about it, but it supported everything else. So, and so the body shop was the first. So all of this is to say that every step of the way, I was conservative in everything. I knew what I was worth. I knew what I was good at. I did what I was good at. And I never let anyone bully me at all. If they were wrong, I would tell them respectfully, I would tell them they were wrong, but they were wrong. And if they said, no, I'm right, then we would do it that way. But my objection, my reality that what they were saying was fucked up and wrong didn't change. And they knew it. And I've had a lot of people come over and apologize to me later. And so if you're going to, if you're gonna be the thing, be the thing. I'm not going to sit up here and talk about, building wealth through, funding real estate investments in some shady way. No, it was all hard work. I mean, hard work. And I gave up fucking everything for over 10 years. So when I was in high school and college, I hunted, I fished, I played golf, I took flying lessons. I did all kinds of things. The day I graduated college, most of that changed because I needed to go get a real job. I needed to go find money. I needed to have a life. And there was a point where I realized that no matter what, there was no point in me even trying to get married or looking for a wife because I couldn't afford one, first. And second, I needed to build my career. I needed to have the freedom to, like I had a client in New York on Long Island, and I would have to drive from Tennessee to Long Island with a fucking trailer. And I would be up there a week and a half, and then have to drive back. And there's no woman on the planet that's going to be okay with this kind of bullshit. This is the same thing that over-the-road truckers talk about, right? They're gone so much that it's very hard to find a woman that will put up with it. So the key point is don't waste time trying. Focus inwardly. Focus on yourself. Be the best you can be. Go perfect your art. Go make your money. And then when you're at the top of your game, when you can make money and support not just yourself, but somebody else, then you go hunting for a wife. then you will find women that will be like, yeah, okay, this is a good deal, right? I'm in it to win it now. When you're out there fucking around, flailing about, and you get in a relationship, and that relationship keeps you from taking a job because you'll have to relocate to another city, but that job would have paid you 50 grand a year more, or it put you in the same office as all the decision makers, the people that you need to know, the people that you need to emulate and to watch and see what they do so you can grow and be better than you are and be in a better position in life. If you're in a position where you can't do that because of a woman especially if you're not married to her, then you can't ever complain about your lot in life. You choose that. Men have to own their choices. You choose that. You make choices and you live with them. I made choices. I made hard-ass choices, right? Like, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that there was absolutely no way that my lifestyle was congruent with having a wife. And over and over again, I watched relationships fail. I watched marriages come apart. I watched guys get those phone calls at 8 o'clock in the night when we're in a shop trying to get ready to go and trying to explain that they're not coming home tonight for more than 15 minutes because we're going to be here. We're going to be at that shop until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning to get what we need to get done and load the fucking trailer. And he's going to go home. He's going to take a shower. He's going to grab his clothes. And he's going to be back out the door and he's going to be gone. And he'll be gone for the whole week. Now, we used to understand that as a warrior class, as even a farming class, men knew this. Men would get married young for sure, but the wives stayed with their family and the family watched over them. And there was this idea that they are now part of the family, right? And that's why that worked to some degree. But other men didn't take wives until later in life. Why is that? Well, the reason that is because the men had to go off in these far distances, go fight a war or go fight another tribe or go settle, farm another spot or go hunt a herd that's migrating 100 miles away. So my whole theory is, and I hold to this, is that if you're 18 and you've known this girl kind of your whole life and you guys are high school sweethearts and you're 100% in love and your families know each other and yeah, you're going to have to go and do stuff and you're going to have to go through some shit. But she's going to go through that shit with you again, your family's supportive and all of that. Absolutely get married young. Fucking A. It's awesome. If you're not married by the time you're if a young man is in the modern world, isn't married, settled down, maybe a kid on the way, by the time they're 21, 22, dude, stop. Date, not seriously. Try not to don't be a dumbass and get chicks pregnant. Keep it in your pants if you can. I wasn't able to, but maybe you can. I don't know. And wait until you're in your 30s. When you have the work history, you have the experience, you've been promoted, you're no longer a peon, you can see stability on the horizon. And you've done the things that you needed to do. You've made those 3-week trips to home office and, been in a hotel for, 2 weeks or whatever to, hang out with the people you need to hang out with and get the jobs done that you need to get done. you've relocated 5 times to, to change companies, to keep moving up and up the ladder. You've done all of that. If you're on the backside of that, but now, so now you're on the backside of it. Now you're 30, 35. I got married when I was 35. First of all, you look a lot better to women than a broke ass 22-year-old. I'm just telling you right now. You look, you look good. You got money, you've got stability. You're not eating top ramen 3 times a week. Unless you want to. Ramen's good. But then get married. Now you don't have to travel across country, or if you do, you can make allowances for it. Anyway, that's the secret of my success, right? That's how I did it. That's how I did it as a guy who didn't leverage a college degree. Didn't, all I leveraged was my work ethic, my core moral values, and being willing to do the damn job. Right? So, and that's perfect because now we have about an hour left. I'll open up the show. We can, if you want to come up and chat, feel free to. I don't even know if we've got any people left after that monologue. That monologue may have run off basically everybody, but that's okay. That's fine. So I'm putting the link in the mod chat. If you want to come up, all you got to do is go to the Discord, go to the waiting room, and ask a mod for a link, and it'll be awesome. Inspiring stories, no joke. Thanks for the stream today. Hey man, I really appreciate it, dude. That's awesome. And men today have to put up with a lot of females whose ideas of marriage is the man pays for everything. It is a business merger of lifestyles. I don't know that I 100% agree with that, but I will agree that a lot of young women, especially in their 20s, they do have a very fucked up viewpoint on marriage. I think that, and especially, and as they get older, it doesn't get any better. So that's why I think that a lot of, I married a woman who's 11 years younger than me. I was 35. She was, 24. And she's been awesome. It was great. It worked out perfect for me. It worked out. I have friends of mine who are kind of like Buddha over there, who they were in their mid 40s, never got married, had, dated a lot, but just could not find a woman with the values that they wanted. I have one of my friends, he went to the Philippines, did total passport bro stuff. Still married today. I think they have a kid now, having a great time, loves life. It's in the way. I'll send it to you, Clover. I'll just throw it to you. Gotta find it. There it is. But at any rate, so I know other guys who I know a couple of guys who have gone to Japan and successfully married. Successfully married very nice women. My wife is Chinese, but she was here. She was an import, it was not a passport, but an import. So yeah, I think it's, I think that's where I'm at on it. Missed all the wisdom. Yeah, probably. Take an old man nap. I need to take an old man nap. So, but I mean, that was so that's how we get there, right? Oh, and also I married a woman who was, I I had a list of things that I wanted out of a woman, right? I needed intelligence. I wanted a woman who was traditional, but yet had a work ethic and was ambitious and wanted to, wanted to maybe not have a career exactly, but wanted to do well in whatever they did. I have a really strong personality, so I run over a lot of people, especially women, and that always leads to feelings of animosity, right? So, yeah. We got Clover Tack up on the stream today. What's up, my man?
Go.
Yeah.
You rambled forever.
I did ramble forever.
Good podcast material, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good hour of 2 hours actually.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching. All right. Yeah, you got. I'll have to get with you and talk about that maybe in the next day or so. Yeah, it's there's for any man who says they can't find a woman, they're just not looking in the right place, or they're just looking. Their viewpoint is cloudy.
They're not looking at the right things. They're not looking at the right things. Men have a very similar issue, I think, nowadays to women. What is it, like the hypergamy or whatever with the women, where
I think so.
They look for the better thing. Men is I say it's a similar issue because obviously that's not what it is, but men look for the wrong things is the problem. Like they think with the wrong head, I think is a lot of it.
Give me 1 second. So, yeah, the whatever bow feature, I think that's, interesting. So, my wife is unique and special and fits me really well, but she would not fit other people very well. Right. So you have to know what I personally have come to believe that, well, first of all, I have you can tell me this is a sappy ass, dumbass take on it, but I believe you only get so many chances at love in this life. There are only so many people out there that are going to meet your ideal and that you will click with or be in sync with or have that whatever you want to call it. There are only so many people out there and you only get so many chances at it. I've watched dudes fuck that up so many times and have like a woman that really truly loves and cares for them and they'll just fuck it up. I've watched dudes do that so many times. I've seen girls do the same thing, but it's worse when dudes do it. So especially when they then can't complain about not being able to find a woman.
Right.
Be like, dude, you had the perfect thing. And then they'll realize it years later, like, oh, I had such a great thing with whatever the fuck her name was. And I can't believe that I threw that away. And I'm like, no, I absolutely 100% believe you threw it away. Why would you not?
Yeah, I know it's really weird. I know a guy married this chick. They got married young, right? And then, which I mean, a lot of people around here are that way.
Sure.
Even nowadays. And I see those relationships last. That's why I say, I think marrying young is honestly optimal. Now I get the argument of, build yourself, blah, 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 as a man.
I think there's an expiration date on that.
I think that is after you've done missed the boat for getting married young.
Yes.
Yes, I see that as a strategy.
Yeah, it's an expiration date thing, right? So if you're not married, if a man is not married by the age of 21, it's not that he's not going to find a cute woman and be able to make a relationship work. It's just at that point, that woman is now she's not 18, 19 anymore. She's 21, 22, 23, whatever it is. And now they're looking at, they want you to have a job. They're getting out of college. They want to have a new car. They want to have all of a sudden, all of the stuff things come into play. and they're not going to be happy living in a 1-bedroom apartment for $600 a month. They want a 1-bedroom apartment for $1,500 a month, right?
It depends on the woman, but I mean,
Well, I'm speaking very generically. And so, if you are in a relationship with a woman in that age group, which again, even if you're 30, I think that you should be you should be aiming younger, but whatever. We can get to that later. But when you're, my observation is that, having looked at this for decades now, when those women get in that age range, that's when they start looking at older men. And even if they can't attract the older men, they want the young men to be the older men.
Yeah, they want that frame, right?
They want the whole deal. They want the package.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You got an 18-year-old woman, most of the time, unless they've been just completely poisoned, they're going to be they're going to understand that you guys don't have it. You're starting with nothing. You're building something, and they will stand by you. They will, for the most part, they will, they're in it to win it with you. They're not used to any specific lifestyle. They don't have the expectations, and therefore you grow together, right? I've said this over and over and over again. You grow together. And when you grow together, it's a lot easier to stay together.
Mm-hmm.
But when
it's honestly the bad times, right?
Right.
It's the bad times that really strengthen
make
things.
it not the good.
It's not the rosy, awesome, good memories.
Yeah.
That create the bond. It's the making it through the bad times. And what I was telling with that story. So I know a couple that they got, high school sweetheart situation, whatever, got married, had some kids, got divorced. Both of them got remarried. And then about 10 years, maybe 10 years after that, not even that, they had already had kids. As a matter of fact, both of them did, with the new spouses. They got back together. They got divorced again and then remarried. And it's like, if they would have just toughed out. Now, granted, they wouldn't have brought other children into the world. And I get it. There's caveats on it.
Sure.
But if they would have just toughed out the tough times that they had, they were obviously meant to be together,
Right.
And they wouldn't have had to go through all of that. But sometimes you have to go through that, I guess, in order to realize what the hell's going on. And that's I say that to talk about it's the bad times. And so many people, it's this mentality of fucking giving up, And I just don't come from a mentality of giving the fuck up, and so too many people do,
right?
And I think it stems from a lot of things, right? Like I've seen men in my life work literally from daylight until well before daylight, honestly, until well after dark, right? I've seen women in my life, talking about taking care of the home, not a job, right? But literally work before daylight until after dark, right? And they're up before the husband, the breakfast is ready. They're cleaning the house, they're tending the garden, they're gathering the eggs, they're doing the things. The husband gets home, they got to cook dinner. Well, once they cook dinner, they got to wash the dishes, they got to clean up. Hubby, it's dark, he can go to bed, but that type of thing, right? I've just seen so many people in my life, and still to this day, that endure, right? And I don't know if it's a cityfied fucking mentality, because more people have moved into cities, and obviously cities grow, and it perpetuates that type of a person, that they just don't have a self-reliance. We'll call the guy, and if we can't afford to call the guy, we'll just deal with it, I guess, or do without it, or whatever.
I mean, I think it's a combination of things, man. I think that, first of all, I think that men have lost a lot of their self-confidence, right?
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Like
I don't have that problem.
Right. Yeah, I certainly don't have that problem.
My wife will say something, and she'll say like, "How did you do that?" or whatever, and I'll go, "Because I'm fucking awesome," and I'll just walk off. And part of me's joking, but part of me's not joking, because I've spent a lifetime learning and figuring out and that sort of thing, right? Paying attention and watching, and so part of me is proud that I'm able to do a lot of the things I can do.
Sure, sure. Before I go much further, I want to run this. I got something, guys. So if you are coming to DebateCon, I have changed the venue, and the reason for that is annoying, but it's okay. We've got it. And so, but I've got this. I'm going to show you guys this. This is the new venue. This is a video that my man Emmett made for me. This is a promotional video, and we're just going to watch this really quick. I say we are. The motorcycles will be there. The motorcycles will be for sale, actually. To get the owner to give me a price list. Now, the guitars and everything won't be there. I think they're leaving the drum kit. Where's the White Claw cage for Kel? I hadn't taken that into account. That'll be something that we need to talk about. Sure. It was a Norton. They're all for sale. Everyone going to DebateCon is invited to my shindig. I'll go over that in just a minute, Paul Page. Give me 1 second. All right, so if you have a valid ticket to DebateCon, you can come to my event. However, if I don't know you, you need to go on Discord and DM me who you are. Maybe, that so that I know and that you're coming. And that way we get you on the list. Because if we don't know you, even if you have a ticket, it could be iffy, especially if we get really full. Get a ring, and Connor's not coming to DebateCon. He doesn't actually debate. Come on, what are you doing? You know better than this. Come on.
What was the red truck or Blazer or Suburban or whatever?
That was there for a photo shoot. Apparently, I think it was like a Nomad or something.
Uh-huh.
It was something old.
Yeah, it kind of looked like an old Nomad maybe, but it looked like it was jacked up or something almost. It didn't look.
Yeah. It's it was there for a photo shoot. I believe Jim Bob is going, but I'm not 100% sure. I know for a fact Sarah, Andrew, Rachel, Fabian Liberty, Rob Noor, Jake Viopod, and a bunch of other people are going to be there. Men, we do have our own issues, and young men especially have a severe lack of self-confidence. They don't know what they want. They don't actually know what a good woman is. So they fall into this trap where they're looking at people like fucking Andrew Tate and what's it? Justin Waller guy. That these guys don't. I mean, these guys are running around with bimbos. They don't know what a real woman is. So dudes think that they want a bimbo, right?
So I wonder if a lack of confidence, it's just a thought that I have, is a father's figure not being around.
Well, certainly there's that, but I think it's undermined
into the healthy confidence, right? Because moms tend to if it's just the mom, right? It's the maternal. Traditionally, it's the maternal. Oh, my little boy type thing. Where
but they're getting that in school too. So here's the thing. I agree with you, and I noticed this in my own. So I was literally telling my son yet last night that he needs to knock this anxiety shit off. That if he's either does it or he doesn't do it, that's it. Make peace with it. And if he wants to do the things he wants to do in life, he has to show that he can be a leader. It's okay if he can't be a leader. That's fine. But if he's going to do what he wants to do, his stated goals, that like the things he wants above all else, he has to start showing leadership. He has to start participating in class and all this. But for so long in school, so he's around me all the time. I have a lot of confidence and I show him stuff. And when he's around me, he does pretty well. But the minute he's around, to some degree, his mom, because she undercuts a lot of his confidence, just being a mom. I mean, moms do that, right? Like, mom's like, oh, fix your hair, fix your tie, it's just whatever. She kind of undercuts his confidence a little bit. But then he has to go to school or basically anywhere else, and there are women that are out there telling him or treating him as if he's flawed in some way. And so that really, really jacks the self-confidence level down. Right. And so,
yeah,
I think it's it's really a big deal. And friend groups like actually this is, so my son's friend group is not the geeks per se, but there's some geeks in there and they're all really great kids, but none of them have actual self-confidence.
Yeah.
None of them.
Well, I think that's built from, it has to be built. Confidence has to be built from honesty, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what you get into, and whether you're dealing with the schools or even society in general, we've got this thing to where you can't hurt anybody's feelings, right?
Right.
Well, the fact that your macaroni Kleenex holder looks like shit, because you use the wrong type of glue or the wrong type of macaroni or placed them in a wrong pattern, right? Like, that's a fucking fact.
Right.
Like that can, and that's something that can be corrected if somebody is honest enough to say, look, fucker, use this glue, not this other glue, right? And then the next time the kid makes the macaroni Kleenex holder, they use the right glue and it turns out fucking awesome, right? And then they've got the self-confidence now, right? They know how to do the job or do whatever. They know how to do it right. And I think that holds a lot more weight. It kind of gets back into the marriage thing a little bit. Yeah. Are there points of pain as far as your feelings go? Well, sure. Nobody wants to be told that whatever they made or did sucks.
Right.
But if it's coming from a place of, well, it really did suck, I can do better. Well, that's how you grow, I think.
Yeah. Glare, later, man. We'll catch you later tonight. I'll be debating, guys. I'm on a panel tonight about violence. So I'm the right guy. And we're going to be talking about violence tonight. So I don't know if it's a debate exactly, but we'll see. I agree with that. But I also, it just has to be pointed out that our entire society now is meant to make men less manly. And so even when especially young men, even when they're trying to be manly, they get smacked down for it. And so I've had to really fight this with my son, and it's frustrating to him. So the problem is that he knows what he should do, but he also knows he will get in, there's a real chance he'll get in trouble if he does what he should do. And so rather than risk it, he just gets really frustrated and holds it all in. And then he, because he's only 15, he'll have like a breakdown, a meltdown over it. And I'm like, dude, you got to quit melting down. And, and he's, I'm watching this go on and I'm like, dude, you are not this dude. He did, Mr. Mister. He did Krav Maga, and he's about to start doing Krav Maga again, or maybe I kind of want to find an MMA gym, but I think Krav Maga is fine for him. But he has such a busy schedule right now. So, but I'm just telling you, man, it's tough for young men out there now. It is just tough. And I wish that I could change it. I wish that there was a magic wand I could wave, or a course I could put out and, be another Justin Waller or a Rolo Tomasi or one of those guys and sell everybody some shit. But
Sons of Thor is helping with that, is it not?
Yeah.
So
no, that's jujitsu is fighting on your butt. No, Krav Maga is dirty fighting. Krav Maga is where you kick people in the nuts and poke them in the eyes and strangle them and shit. So that's dirty fighting. Like, look at my hands while I kick you in your balls.
Mm-hmm. Hey, whatever gets
whatever
gets the W, man.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul Page, talk to your son, man. I mean, it's tough out there. So this is why my son loves to go. I mean, his number one thing he wants to do is to go out with the Boy Scouts. He wants to go out with his boys, and he wants to hang out, and he wants to do guy stuff with nobody calling him down for doing guy stuff. That's the number one thing he wants to do.
Yep.
Because he can't do it anywhere else. He likes to go to the skate park, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wants to go to where he can be a dude and not be yelled at for being a dude.
Right.
And I think we're seeing that more and more in our young men. I mean, they don't want. Why are young men not interacting with young women? Well, because every time they go somewhere that they can interact with young women are telling them they're wrong and they're bad and they're evil and they're misogynist and they're all one step away from being a rapist and all of this stuff. Why would young men want to associate with young women at this point?
Right.
It's crazy. It's nuts. Mm-hmm. And I get it now. I mean, I kind of was on the fence, because if you'd told me this 2 years ago, I'd have been like, nah, you guys are wrong. That's not how it is. But I'm telling you, the happiest he is when he goes out with the Scouts.
Yeah.
Because it's just dudes and they're having a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Page, his troop is traditional. It is only boys. They do not allow women in his troop.
There's very little girls in the Scout. I know they've changed the name and they did all this stuff, but the numbers do not bear out. It's not like the girls have taken it over, because let's be honest, it was dumb anyway. They tried to appease less than 1% of people or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A very, very, literally 3 or 4 parents that threw a fit.
Yeah, for sure.
And most girls don't want to go hang out and do boy stuff. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, the Red Pill can talk about all of this stuff, right? And you have people are supposedly men's advocates, but they're talking about grown ass men who should already know better, right? But I'm talking about young men, like kids my son's age or even a little younger that are. So one of my son's Sporting Clay's teammates had a moment of incredible stupidity after the Charlie Kirk thing, and posted something on TikTok, or made a funny TikTok about how something was going to happen at the Webb School homecoming parade, and they suspended him for a year. It was a bad joke, but they suspended him for a year. And he's one of my son's friends. And he's like, why wasn't this kid in class? Well, he's been suspended. Right? Like, he's
all right,
not here anymore. And I mean, I think what the kid did was, stupid. especially in today's heightened sense of security, but I don't think it warranted a year suspension.
Yeah,
Right.
kids do stupid shit for the
Yeah,
most part.
kids do
That
stupid
needs to
stuff.
be.
And he's a good kid, man. Like, this kid is a good kid. He just made a stupid comment. Right. I mean, his brother still goes there.
Yeah.
I think your twin brother, actually. So, but that's where we're at. And my son sees that and he's like, man, I can't joke about shit. Right. Like, can't make
Well, you definitely have to. You can, but you definitely have to. Has to be in the right place at the right time, and TikTok's probably not the right place or the right time.
I agree. My son doesn't have any social media at all.
Yeah. Like on a camping trip with the boys, you can say a whole lot. You can't.
Right.
Else,
And I think that's why he loves it. I think that's because I've been thinking a lot lately, because he doesn't even want me to go on the trips anymore. Right. Like, we used to go together, but I don't really, I get along with all the other fathers, but I don't really it's just not cool enough for me.
Yeah.
And I just don't really get into it. So, and a lot of the other fathers have, we all go during Cub Scouts, right? Because you kind of have to, because it's your kid. Nobody else needs to look after your kid.
Yeah.
But once they're teenagers, it's like, my son doesn't really want me to go. He's like, I'd just rather you not go. I just want to hang out with my buddies, and I get that. I respect that.
Yeah.
And, I don't really necessarily want to hang out with the other dads. So, and actually at this point, I've pulled away so that he goes to Scouts by himself. And he's basically, it's no longer a father-son activity. It's his activity.
Right.
As I think it should be at his age.
Right.
So, right, Buddha, it's a freedom for him and a level of trust. Right. And I chew him out when he fucks up. I chew him out. But, it's a level of trust for him. So, and again, I can't harp on this enough, man. I think that when all these red pill guys out there are talking about 30 and 40-year-old dudes, how they're having trouble, why they can't get married or whatever, I could give a fuck less. If you're that emotionally damaged in your 40s that you can't even get a fucking date, get pro help. I mean, do something. But I'm talking, I mostly care about, about our youth, about our young men and young women, because they are literally on the front lines. I don't think people understand this. I really think that most people in our age groups and younger than me, and I would say 25 and up, they very selfishly think about themselves and what's going on in their lives. But what we really need to look at is our youth, the guys who are 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, that are being told every day in schools across America that they aren't good enough.
I'm hopeful, and I'm hoping that the whole thing with Charlie and the rapid explosion of Turning Point and all of that, I'm hoping that impacts a lot of what you're talking about.
I do too.
And the reason that I say this is because for far too long now, we've had an issue where, and this is across the board. This is not just digging on men, but I mean, it's a women problem too. It's a human problem. It's a selfish fucking human problem, where for probably a decade now, pretty close, maybe even a little bit longer than that for sure. And I've just seen this as coming from, nonprofit organization and a lot of volunteer work and stuff myself. The number of people that give a shit about somebody else, that give a shit about helping other people and not getting paid to help other people. Let's be clear about that. But the whole volunteer thing, the whole mentorship, that sort of thing, it all but died, and it has all but died, I should say. It seems that it might be coming back around a little bit, and I'm hoping Turning Point. That's one of the things that they focus on a little bit, and I know they're in the colleges and that sort of stuff. Hopefully that bleeds back over down into high school level and stuff like that, as well as it expands. But yeah, I totally agree. We gotta. I've said it before. The young people, the young generations always have the power, right? The old
Sure.
generations always have the wisdom. The problem is you get the young generations that don't want to listen to the old heads for whatever reason. You fucking boomer, right? That
Right.
they try to wield the power without wisdom, which is dangerous. And like the old heads,
For
like, I
sure.
don't give a shit. Like, let the young people run this country, right? They've got the energy, they've got the passion, they've got whatever. Let's do it. Turn it over to them. We need younger blood in Congress and politics and all of these different aspects of society. I have no problem with that. But at the same time, we need young people that have been given the gift of wisdom. And that requires two things. That requires the old heads to give it to them, and that requires them to actually receive it.
Yeah, but so this is what I see, right? Like the kids I see, like my son and his friends that are growing up with, at least good moral values, that are, want to go to church. My son actually surprised me, because I think a lot of times young men get to an age where they don't want to go to church. But my son was given the option to not go to church, and he's like, no, I really want to go. I really enjoy it. So I think that, from my point of view, or my experience, is that the young people I know that are doing that are pretty well adjusted. They're doing good stuff. But those are the places where you have men getting involved and being
Yes,
mentors
you do.
to young people, right? Men and women, I guess, but mostly men, who get involved and are part of their church, part of their Boy Scout groups, part of, team sports. We have coaches that volunteer for the shooting team. We have, he goes with me when we go do the matches, and, that's, he really has a good time doing that. And he's around grown men who, a lot of them have military backgrounds, and a lot of them and several of them are just plain blue collar folk. And so he's around all of these men that show him what men should be, right? And
Yeah.
I consider him very fortunate. And I look around at other people and their kids, and they're being taught by a bunch of women, and they're being told that they're wrong all the time. The biggest disconnect I see right now is we have a lot of women in education that are problematic, and it sets up this he said, she said situation, where they're told in school that, believe all women, respect all, all of this, and, whatever. And
Right.
they can't actually make sense of it because they're young. They're 15.
There's
14.
There's a very clinical way that would deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about this ad nauseum, but there's a very clinical way that will deal with the teacher issue and the indoctrination issue, I believe, especially at the public school level. And not only will it deal with that, it will also address the actual quality of the education that our kids get in public school. And that's going back to a model where it is harder to become a teacher.
Yeah.
It'll put a lot of people out of work. But it will, for those that do have the gumption and the moxie to be teachers, they will get paid well. Those will, instead of this diarrhea of teachers that we've got. And it's just, from the vast majority, it's like a lot of different, to be fair, It's like a lot of different career paths where it's just a means to get a paycheck,
Yeah.
for the vast majority of them, and it's because it's so easy to do. And it once
And
once
yet
upon
they
a
still
time
complain.
once upon a time it wasn't that way. And I think if to be a teacher you had to put in the work and you had to have the knowledge and you had to have all these other things, that's at the very least that requires commitment and work ethic. And I think those are both fairly conservative values, and so therefore I think that would affect the indoctrination portion of it a little bit. And then because they actually know the subjects and they actually know how to teach, and they've been trained properly and all that, then I think that affects like I said, the quality of the education as well. But I don't know if
I mean,
we will ever get there, and
I
how
can
we
agree with
would
that.
if we wanted to.
I can agree with that, but I have a slightly different take on it. Not super different, but slightly different. I think that the problem is that you have we all had the school marm teacher, right? The bitter old lady who men were always a problem. They were always talking about, but you knew that lady was just a bitter old school marm, and you just didn't pay any attention to it, right? But now that's the majority, and if you speak out against that person, well, now you've done something really wrong, and children do not want to get punished.
Yeah.
And so when it's wrong to speak out about certain things, and children can be punished for it, they're not going to speak out. So then they learn to just not speak out about it. So it's a very insidious thing. And I just feel like that it's, I personally think that the entire DOE should be destroyed and rebuilt personally.
I don't not rebuilt. No, definitely not. I mean,
Not well. Something
completely.
in its place,
It needs to be stripped down to, literally a skeleton crew. The states have enough bureaucracy with all of that.
Sure.
That at the federal level, I can concede that we may need a little bit of, like literally one fucking office of federal bureaucracy, as a coordination point, right, or something of that nature between the states. But outside of that, there's no reason for the federal government to be in there. Just like most things,
I don't
there's
disagree.
no reason for the federal government to be involved. Like, and that's the only concession I'm willing to make is you can have a secretary, and you can have the Secretary of Education, whatever, and then you can have a staff of 10 people, 12 people, some shit, whatever. That's it.
Well, I mean, let me. I want to be really frank here. I think that our school system is overburdened because we try and teach too much, and we have people that don't understand what they're teaching, and they're teaching it anyway, and therefore we actually do more damage than good. And so in my perfect world, we would, first of all, in my perfect world, school would end at like 9th grade, 8th grade maybe, because once you know how to read, write, and do math. Sorry,
that sounds like an Amish community almost, or something.
Well,
I think they go through junior high. Most Amish communities,
right? Yeah, junior high. Once you know how to read, write, and do most forms of math, you've got a good education. You can get through life. We know that.
I got two grandfathers that was that way. Literally, 6th grade was it for both of them.
Yeah. Well, we know that it works because the largest number of people in this country can't read past the 3rd grade level.
Right.
Right. So why the fuck are they going to high school? Like, why is that? What did they accomplish?
Yeah.
They're certainly not doing advanced math.
So here's my take.
Well, hold on. I wasn't quite finished.
Go ahead.
Give me one second.
Oh, okay.
So school ends 8th, 9th grade, right? Middle school. If you want, and your parents want, and your parents are willing to put skin in the game, pay a little bit, then you can go on to like a finishing school. But most kids should go to a more or less a trade school. I wouldn't call it a trade school, but a very specific school, much like the military uses. So if I'm for example, if I'm a military guy, and my job calls for me to know Spanish, the military doesn't put me in a class to learn Spanish for 3 years. They have a truncated program, and I will go and learn Spanish. At the end of that 6 months or whatever it is, I will speak fluently and I will be able to read and write basic Spanish. Why is it that our kids aren't receiving that same kind of training? I don't know, but and next, why are we teaching kids foreign languages when they are failing English and don't read past the 3rd grade level? That's insanity. Like we shouldn't do that. So I'm much more of a I really think it's what we need is more of an Asian style school system. And you have to test in. You know, one of the reasons that the Chinese do so well is they have a test. I forget what they call it, but it's right after what our equivalent of middle school. And if you don't pass that test, and everybody takes it, it's highly competitive. If you don't pass that test, you will never go to college in China, because you do not have the grades for it. You do not have the aptitude. You won't go to college. Just the way it is. And so people study for weeks to do well on that test. And I personally, I personally think that our education system is really fucked up.
So back in my day, I literally could have, and I didn't graduate. I went and got a GED. Not that I had bad grades, because I was all A honor roll, and then I just summer before my senior year said fuck this and went and got a GED and went to work. Because I could ace the GED, right? I knew I could. So what the fuck? Who cares about walking across the stage? I don't give a shit as long as it holds the same weight for jobs and things, which it did at the time. I had geometry and algebra. We were kind of talked last night, or you did a little bit about, I think about maths, certain maths. So geometry and algebra anyway, in junior high. I was doing that shit in junior high. And so there's no reason that you can't get a few of what I would think needs to be required learning. Now, granted, you got to have good teachers to do this, right? You got to have qualified, educated, wise teachers to do this. But there's no reason you can't go back to that model, kind of like you're talking about, and cram here's the education you need, right, to be educated. History, science, math, language arts, whatever you want to call it, right? The core stuff. No reason you can't do that all through junior high, right? And then turn around and take high school, and instead of high school being a pre-college course thing, which is a lot of times what it is nowadays, or take high school and turn high school back into getting kids ready. I don't have a problem with keeping high school, but turn high school into let's get kids ready for the real fucking world, right? We're going to put emphasis on home ec.
Well,
we're going to put emphasis on shop classes. We're going to put emphasis on small business.
I did all that in middle school, So. But here, let me read you this. Yeah. So the Chinese high school test is called the Gao Cao or something like that. I can't pronounce it. Highly competitive and stressful national college entrance examination that occurs annually in June. Students are tested on compulsory subjects like Chinese, mathematics, and a foreign language, plus elective subjects like physics, chemistry, or history, with scores determining their university placement. The test is a critical make or break event for Chinese students, influencing their future careers and requiring immense focus and study for success. So basically, if you it makes the determination whether you're going to be relatively successful in life or not. And there's a lot of criticisms of fairness versus wealth and all that kind of stuff. And there was something that
Did it say that? Did it actually say it's whether or not you're going to be successful in life? Did
Yeah,
it
it's
say that?
it's very much tied to how
That's
successful in life you're going to be,
that's fucking horse shit.
or in your career, or whatever. Because you can't get
I
a
mean,
can't go to college.
that may not be horse shit, right?
Yeah,
But
right.
kind
Yeah,
of like
here
a
it would
trade
be.
school. I know tradesmen that make far
Sure.
more than fucking doctors do.
Right, right. Well, no, I mean that would be when they say successful is whether you're going to go and be like go to college, be a business person, and go on to a career in business or whatever, or be a tradesperson. And they don't. And in China, they don't really seem to care. It's not. It's like if you're a tradesperson makes a lot of money, fine. If you're a business person, fine. Basically, oh yeah, and I wanted Buddha said the military is not a good example for relationships. Churches are historical with historical ethics are better structure for relationships. I don't disagree. However, the military is a much better example of how to get education done, which was my point. I don't know if I misspoke or something. And where's the other one? There was one more thing I wanted to kind of address. Yes, Japanese, Korean, and Chinese schools are good, sure, but it doesn't explain their absolutely plummeting birth rates. That has nothing to do with their education system. That has to do with culture and a few other things. So that's true, Uncle Guns. It is 50% on the parents. They don't say to the kids, no grades, no rewards. The parents want to be the child's friend and are scared to upset the child, or telling them no might scar them. Yeah, with trauma. Yeah. So last night my son was literally told by my wife that if he gets C's or D's, there's no point in him going to private school. So he has a friend who his dad told him that if he plans on going in the military, there's no point in him being at the private school that he goes to. They'll save the money. He can go to regular high school, go into the military, and do a great job being in the military. But there was no point in spending the money on private school if he wasn't going to go to a good college, right? And so I think some parents do that, but other parents do not. And I think Guns is right about that. What do you think, Clover? Where you at on that?
Yeah, with what Guns is saying.
Yeah, kind of how I related it to.
Yeah, I mean, I'll
people still
take that.
doing it.
I'll take that comment because I'm looking at it now. I'll take that a different direction, and that's more the scar and the trauma thing. I've got news for you. As a parent, I've already warned as a grandparent my oldest daughter about this because she's got some. It's 12. My oldest grandbaby's 12. Regardless of how well you treat them, regardless of how much you treat them, kids are going to go through rebellious stages to where they're going to hate your fucking guts, and they're going to believe things happened when they grew up that absolutely did not happen. That's going to happen. So that's just a part of growing up. That's that rebellious phase. Call it back to the prodigal son story, or whatever you want to, or parable, or whatever that was. And that's going to happen. So, like, you might as well be real and be honest, because once they come out of that, I think that's the issue. Once they come out of the rebellious phase that kids inevitably go through, when they come out of that, if there's no honesty that's been going on that has grounded them, it's going to make it a whole lot tougher on them. Mm-hmm. Because they're going to come out of it and they're going to understand now, oh, this is why I value honesty, because this was true. This was real. This was actually the way what was going on. I did not know it as a kid, right? Sure. I did not know it as a big-headed teenager or whatever. I was blinded by whatever it might be, pussy, fast cars, sports, whatever, right?
Right. Well, and there's a saying in the Boy Scouts that it's the fumes that lure young men away from the Scouts, and that is gas fumes and perfumes.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Valid. Once you get a car, you're out hanging out with your buddies, and then once you get a whiff of some girl's perfume, you forget all about going to Boy Scouts.
That was me, dude. Again, when I got a car, I had the freedom. And it's like, holy shit, I got to spend, it sucked the 1 year of high school. I had to go till 3 o'clock all day till 3 o'clock to then be able to go to work. I was like, why the fuck can't I just go to work? And then, the next year it was half day. I could go half day and then get out at lunch or whatever and go to work. And then finally I was like, fuck it. I want to go to work. Like, I want to make money. Like, I want to fucking build a life. I want to,
Right. Well, that's my son's
it.
like, he wants to make money. He wants to build, he's like, he's a different kid for sure. Uncle Guns, I really do appreciate the comment. He says tremendous man card material discussion today, by the way. Awesome, dude. Really appreciate that.
A lot of good clips, man, from today, I think.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah.
Nothing else. Yeah.
Emmett will have fun with this episode. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard for young men today. I really do. And I think that one of the things that's really started to annoy me is we keep talking about men, grown-ass men, and what we need to do to help them, when what we really need to be talking about is how to help young men.
Well, it's the root of the problem, right? So when I come in, that's where we started this conversation.
Yeah.
Is dealing with, you're in your 30s, man or woman, right? And you're having relationship issues and all this. That's secondary, right? That's not solving. That does not solve the problem. Like, that's not the root of the issue. The root of the issue is you weren't raised right in the first place. And you may think you were raised right, but obviously you fucking wasn't. Something went wonky along the way.
Man. That was cold. You just weren't raised right anyway.
Well, you cannot be raised right.
Right.
And then at the same time not realize that.
Correct? I agree.
I'm not putting it on that person, or anything. Right. But like, you weren't. Something went wonky, and you need to, it's too late now. You don't have a time machine, so how do we deal with that moving forward? So it's definitely a two-pronged thing. I think we got to stop the bleed. Obviously, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
But ultimately we got to deal with what's causing the bleed at some point. And what's causing the bleed is like you're talking about, it's the young men, right? It's the teenage, growing up portion of it.
And to be honest with you, I'm really encouraged by our younger generation.
Dude, I'm not going to lie to you. I was not a big Charlie Kirk watcher or anything. Obviously with, just what I watch, that stuff comes across my feed and whatever. So, and I would watch it from time to time and everything. But I did not realize really Turning Point and the type of reach they had and all of the young people involved. And that's one thing that's really opened my about it all anyway. I've seen for 2 decades now. I've seen the younger generations actually way more conservative than what I think a lot of people give them credit, because the purple hair, nose ring, whatever, are always the loudest ones, right?
Right.
The ones that are well-grounded, well-rounded kiddos, younger people, they're too busy going through life, living life, going through life, right? And trying to make something of their life. They're too busy to get on TikTok and fucking rant about it or get on whatever, right? Well, so like they're literally, just like there's a silent majority between, the 10% on the far left or the far right, politically speaking, right? If the 80 in the middle would get together and say, fuck you guys, we could do whatever we wanted to do. It works the same way when you're talking about the Utes out there.
Sure.
There is a silent majority of good kids.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. But
and eventually it's going to get to a point, because I've already seen it happen, right? A lot of the kids, and I'm trying to land my plane here.
Yeah.
The Turning Point thing, I was seeing all of these college kids, right? And I'm like, holy shit, look at all the, 3,000 was there at the deal where the tragedy happened or whatever, thousands, right? And all of this other stuff, and tens of thousands turning out for memorials and all this other shit. And I'm surprised by it. And then at the same time, I think back and I'm thinking, you know what? When I was dealing with 4-H, I said, and I'm on the record, I've got podcasts where I'm on the record saying this 20 fucking years ago. Kids are getting better. The younger generations are better than we give them credit, because we see all the bad. And I think about saying that. I think about seeing that, recognizing it, saying it 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. And then I think if you do the math, those kids are in college now. Those are the fucking kids that I'm impressed by with Turning Point USA and all this are the kids I said were better.
Yeah, but see, like, so, okay, I'll give you that. My son's generation, Gen Alpha or whatever he is like most of his friends don't have social media and they don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They're really conservative.
Yeah.
Now I obviously I don't spend a lot of time with the girls, right? Because it's not my purview, right? I never talk to them, but I'm really encouraged by the youth of Gen Alpha right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're looking up at the blue-haired weirdos. And they're looking up at these women, these grown-ass women shouting at kids and shouting at grown men and wearing pussy hats and all of that. And it's like they're looking at it the same way you and I look at it, just with incredulity and going, what in the world are you doing? And they don't find it cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't find Destiny's, spurging out cool. And they don't find, all of this stuff. So it's really encouraging. They're more going, there's higher attendance of that group in churches right now.
Yeah.
Right. Like, this is all really encouraging. When people start telling me the world is just going to hell and there's nothing we can do about it, I just have to stop and say, I would, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I'd have been in that boat with you.
Yeah.
But now I'm looking at it and I'm like, look at the attendance in most churches now.
Yeah. If you start looking at numbers, right.
Right. And these are young people. These are not old people coming back to the church. They're young people that, are going. Christian schools have massive enrollment. Massive. Well,
it took quite some time. And granted, we have social media, and social media is only going to amplify and expedite the degradation of society at any given time. But it took a long time for us to get to the way that we are now, right? Sure. So if we get a generation that comes around and is anywhere near as conservative as our great-great-grandparents, right? Or great-grandparents, it will be several generations. You know what I mean? We'll reverse course for a couple of generations. Easy.
But what we've got to look at, what we have to think about is every kid that's out there right now, chances are they have at least one male relative that went to war, because we've been at war for 20 years.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And every one of those kids probably knows somebody missing a limb because of a war. Every one of those kids look around and they see the lies that they're told. The immigration stuff and all of that. Now, some of them, obviously, you can't, what's the word I'm looking for here? You can't win them all. I mean, some people are just born liberal. You can't do anything about it. Their brain just doesn't work right. But for the most part, I'm super encouraged. And I think it's all down to the last two generations have been at war.
Yeah.
Right. And are directly affected by it.
Yeah.
And so that changes this dynamic. And I think I'm very encouraged. Right.
Well, can't reach them all, and we don't have to reach them all. And what we got to do is we also have to give a certain amount of leadway, because the ones that you can't reach, a lot of them will come around on their own.
Well, a lot of them will act like they're not reached, right? So we see this a lot.
Well, it's true, just to fit in.
They just fit in, but the reality is when they vote, they're voting.
So funny story. I've got an aunt, and she was telling me, it's been several years ago now. And anyway, so I got an aunt that was telling me about a trip that you got to realize I'm the oldest of like all the grandchildren and whatever. So, when I say a cousin, it's more like one of my kids' age, right?
Sure.
But this was quite a few years ago, and she was telling me, she's like, yeah, I like to have a stroke, like what happened? And she's like, so and so went on a field trip to Washington D.C. or some big city, I forget where. We're going to use Washington D.C. because I can't remember.
Sure.
And she's like, he sent me a bunch of pictures that he got off and was marching in a protest. It turns out it was an anti-gun protest. And she's like, I told him that he better get his ass back to the hotel or whatever. Quit marching at a damn anti-gun protest. What the hell was he doing? And he's like, but Mom, there was some good looking chicks there.
Stand by 1 minute. My wife's calling me. Give me.
And so, that goes into, I'm going to keep talking here, but that goes into, exactly the thing of fitting in, especially with guys, that's a perfect example of just chasing skirt, right? Like they don't believe that. But the other issue with it, I get the fitting in, but the other is the rebellious thing. And I see this a lot. I think this is going to happen when you're dealing with like the destiny stuff or something. What I was saying, Grit, is that was a prime example of just fitting in, right? Ulterior motive or whatever, not really believing the cause. But then you've got the rebellious, right? And what I see, destiny, if nothing else, and don't get me wrong, I got nothing for the dude, but he is the embodiment of rebellion.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And so if you've got rebellious young people, they're going to glom onto that, but at some point, typically there's a wake up moment for rebellion. And that wake up is truth, and destiny speaks no fucking truth. We know that.
Well, and that plays into Uncle Gun's thing here. And then I got to jump off, but, we'll wrap up the show here in just a second, guys. I really appreciate everybody sticking with me today. I know we got into some tangents, but Uncle Gunn says he's seeing people who are getting woken up by their own eyes. They're on the left, toe the party line, disagree with one single thing, then get absolutely annihilated, eaten, if you will, by their own. I agree with that. I've seen the same thing, and I think that's one of the reasons why you see people moving to the center. They won't say that they're right? They won't say, well, I'm right-leaning or whatever. They'll just say, well, I'm centrist now, right? But now even Destiny's pushing them to the right, because if you say you're centrist and you believe what Destiny's doing is right, and because he calls himself center. And
there's no way.
And this
That's
is
crazy. That's crazy. He would do that. That's crazy.
It's
I've never heard him say that, but that's nuts. That if he did, like, he
calls himself a centrist.
Yeah, he's on something. Ain't no way.
Yeah, right. So, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate everyone sticking with me today. I will be back in a few short hours. We'll be debating tonight. I think it's a debate. It could just be a discussion. We're going to be talking about violence, which we've been talking about a lot lately. So it'll be a great discussion. It'll be on that's a Gibbs Me a Break panel. It's going to be awesome. At the same, I really want to say I appreciate everybody hanging out with me. I know it's been a long show day. I've talked a ton and really kind of, been putting a lot of pressure in a lot of different places. I do believe that we have to protect our youth. We have to make it worthwhile for them to come to the right, be conservative, Look at logic, look at history, and all of it. And if we can do that, then we win hearts and minds, as they say. And I think that we owe it to ourselves to do that, right? And we're going to be talking a lot about this because I've thought about it a lot lately, and I just honestly don't care about people my age or even slightly younger. If they want to be a better human being, they're old enough to figure it out, talk to people, get help, move on. I am most concerned with the youth of our nation right now, and I think we all should be. Every one of us has a younger sibling or a nephew, a cousin, whatever. And we should all be helping those kids. We absolutely have to help them. It's our jobs as men. And with that, I'm going to close out today. I'm not I'm not rating anybody today. I'm sorry. I probably should, but I'm not gonna. You guys have a great rest of your day. Hit the like on your way out. If you want to throw some donos, feel free. And in the meantime, as always, be cool and wear glasses if you need them. And go stand on somebody else's lawn for a while. Thank you, Clover Tack, and everybody have a great day.